What is up? What's up, Toady? How you doing, my friend? I I I did hear I did hear bits and pieces of it. Give me 1 second because I don't think they can hear you. Okay, now they can hear you.
All right, let me plug my headphones in and back so we haven't got the whole house listening. There we go. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Let me get Sean in here.
Well,
I
I
shared
think
the
it was
link a little
good.
early.
I think Rumpus and Bob are always very hot, I think. Hi, Sean.
What's up, Sean? How you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on, Sean?
No, just hanging out for the day.
Cody? Yeah, just hanging out.
I guess I prefer to actually talk to people like that because I think he's been a troll in the chat for a long time, right? And said a load of ridiculous things like he did about moon bounce and stuff. Oh, where's your this, that, and the other? And he gets very excited. But I think when they actually come on, LBB store.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But when they actually come on, and then it isn't so easy, is it, right? When you're actually facing people who are asking, quite reasonable questions. Yeah, there was a lot of basic misunderstandings, I think, on that one. And I'm always quite polite. But yeah, he made a lot of mistakes, I think.
Yeah,
a lot of mistakes.
I only heard bits and pieces of it because I was in and out of the house. But what I did hear him saying was it's the normal, no, that's not how it works. How does it work?
I'll summarize what I think he said, and I'll try and be, it's a bit of a crazy. I've not heard this one before, but maybe it's a thing because I've not, I wasn't involved in all those the great optics debates of 2018, right? I wasn't there then, right? The great optics debates and angle of attack or whatever. You guys were there, I wasn't, but I'll put forward what he said, which to me makes no sense really. He basically says that if you're looking at something in the real world, okay, you've got the angle that your eye can see at, and then you've got a center of the whatever you're looking at. So you're looking at something and there's a center line, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If things are above or below that center line, or part of the center line either above or below is blocked by a floor or a ceiling, that actually changes what you're seeing in the rest of it. Now, of course, that's a bit strange because, of course, as long as the light from the object is meeting your eye, you're seeing the object, yeah? And so where it happens to appear in that visual range, as long as you're seeing the whole object, I'm not talking things very, very long away in the distance, because obviously they get much, much smaller and you can't resolve them. I'm not talking the things that are so up close to you that they're so big you can't see them. I'm talking about something normal down the end of a corridor or something. And he claimed that depending where it was, it would change it. So it was a very frustrating, period of time that we had there trying to talk to him about that.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So hang on, I noticed you guys looking at one of the quote unquote perspective pictures earlier or on Jose's. I wanted to pull up. Which one is it?
Have you got one?
I do. Actually, I have one.
But it was good when BB came in, and I hope he comes in again. I think everyone was early on. Bob was quite hot with him, but I think it's good to talk through it and listen to it, because I think this, he's one of those acolytes of Nathan Oakley. Yeah. Really, there's a nice one.
Yeah. So it's actually, I was thinking about doing this last night. I was driving home from practice, and
now look at that one. Suddenly, there's so much going on there. Well, that's a great picture, Sean. Look at that. Well, don't tell me anything about it. Don't tell me anything about it, because I'm going to say a few things first of all, right? I'm very excited by this picture. Okay. You can tell my voice starts getting like quite, high pitched. So what are we seeing first of all? No, don't zoom in too much. I already zoomed in. Right, I'll zoom out. Okay, fine. Leave it where you've got it, because I was zooming in.
It's all good. No, I'm keeping it zoomed out.
No, because then maybe the people can see it. Then I zoomed in and then it zoomed in. Right. So it's a great picture for a start, right? Okay, we're seeing the effect of perspective. I'm guessing, right, that we're probably not seeing the effects of curvature, given the fact that, I don't know, it could be on a boat or in a hotel that is perhaps the floor's curved, but certainly it isn't due to land curvature, right? So I'm going to make that statement. The next interesting thing I noticed, which shouldn't really be possible, but it does look like it is doing it here, but it could just be I can't see the end where it light goes in the distance. It almost looks like the floor does actually rise up, and actually it does almost appear like some of those railings almost bend upwards, right? So I don't know if, I don't know what that effect is. That's interesting. The other thing there could be a mirror in the end of the corridor. So there could actually be a mirror there. And if there is a mirror, I would say that mirror is at door number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. And that could be reflecting the corridor back to me. So I don't know if there is a mirror there or not, Do you see what I mean? Like the guy standing in the middle could be a guy in the middle, or he could be the person taking the photo. That is my comment, and I'm sure you'll tell me a lot more about it now.
There's no mirror.
No mirror. Oh,
The hallway is as straight as you can imagine. It is 100% an effect of your perspective. Zoom in so you guys can see.
it does look like it rises. Yeah,
It does.
Does it? Right?
It's because the height and the distance of that hallway is what's giving that illusion.
Right, and it just appears that it rises. It doesn't really rise. Okay. So when there are two things that can happen. And Sean, you know this. If you build something and you're building to a specific standard, there are points where you have to take into effect that you may have to add another angle in for like drainage and things like that. And sometimes that happens in hallways, and you'll look down it and you'll see a slight rise in one spot of it. And what that is where they add in drainage like underneath or something like that.
Yeah. And
water will pool down in the middle of the hallway. And that's kind of what it looks like a little bit for me.
Can you see what I mean? Though it almost looks like it goes up. You know where the man is? Yeah.
Yep.
It looks pretty straight. Those and by the way, I'm following the railings, and then as it gets near the man, it almost looks like it starts to go up, right?
Yeah, and the other thing, that could be is a imperfection in a lens, and that's another thing. That's another thing that people don't take into effect. Not every lens comes out perfect.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Because I had an odd shot the other day when I went out with my P900. I was getting this weird kind of slightly vortex effect. I got really quite excited until I then realized it was actually a very small drop of water, but it was on the lens at one place. Do you see what I mean? And what it was doing is it wasn't a big effect, but it was slightly bending everything in, and I thought I'd kind of, amateur that I am, discovered something new, but obviously I hadn't. So I see what you mean, Sean. It could be something on the lens that makes that happen. It's a fantastic photo, isn't it? Really good photo.
Yeah, it sure is. And also, sometimes when you're taking lighting into effect, it does affect how things come out in the picture, especially when you're using unnatural light. The fluorescence like that, they can throw things off when it comes to distortion.
Definitely looks to me like something's going upwards. It definitely looks like it's going upwards. I'm going to try and draw some lines on it. I'm going to capture it and draw some lines on it now.
There's another one I wanted to show you guys, but I got to find it for... Oh, there it is. This was one I was saying was better than the one Dr. Bob was showing, I think. I like this one more.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the reason, like, I definitely wanted to keep talking about this is because the sun and the moon both work, and just here, they both work the same as these photos to flat Earth, and you ask them the same questions, same observation, or you ask them what they're seeing in their observation, and it's very clear they understand. It's an apparent perception. Your perception is, it's not what's really happening. And I started thinking about it. So I'm a grade checker. I do a hobby survey and stuff like that, but I have tools, obviously, for my job. And one of these tools that I use every day, never once thought about it until yesterday. I have a peep sight. If you don't know what a peep sight is, it's a handheld sight level. It looks like a little mini telescope or mini, what do the pirates use? Yeah, telescope, yeah. It protracts out of the eyepiece, and then when you look in the bubble, which I will show you guys hopefully in a little bit once my phone charges again, inside there's a bubble level. And
actually, as you look through the lens, you can see a bubble.
Yes.
So you know if it's level as you're looking down it. Yeah?
Yep. So basically what I'll be doing is wherever my eye level is, and I aim my sight, and the bubble lines up inside it's a level just like, that
you're looking absolutely straight and perpendicular. Yeah.
Yes. There's 3 lines in there, and all I'm doing is lining up my bubble inside those lines. And I know everything I'm looking at that my center line is level to my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
If I go to the beach, unless I stick my head in the sand, in this sight on the dirt, that water will never, or I'm sorry, the horizon will never be above my level.
Hang on. Let me go through that again slowly, Sean. Explain that to me slowly. So I'm going to the beach. Hang on, just imagine I'm on the beach. I'm looking at the sea.
Okay.
Right.
So
The sea might be below my eye level.
As long as you're above mean sea level, and you look through this sight, and you get your level.
Yeah.
The water level will never rise above your sight.
Above it. Right. You're right. Of course it won't. Yeah, because the horizon will always be below my eye level.
Exactly. Yeah? And so when you look with the naked eye, and this is a perfect example of what I've been trying to say, your senses, everyone, your senses suck ass compared to reality. And we need tools like the one I just described for my job. And with that tool, I'm able to see what my eyes play tricks on. That's why, the ocean looks like it rises for some odd reason, even though we know it doesn't, because if it did, we'd be underwater looking at the water rise above us.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And it's pretty simple to me. I can't say that I've always known that, obviously, but I didn't know anything about it, so it wasn't like I had this weird perception of what I was seeing.
Did you ever go to the beach as a kid and look out and think, "Oh, the water's above me"? Then did you have that feeling? I never had that feeling.
No.
I spent a lot of time on the beach, right? Because I grew up in an area where there was a lot of beach, and I never went to the beach and thought, "Ooh," do you see what I mean? Even though I did look at the horizon quite often, I never thought, "Ooh, the water's above me."
Well, when I'm sitting back and thinking about it right now, and in this case, it's kind of odd because when if you're standing at the shoreline and you're looking out to the horizon, it does have this illusion like, wow, it's ramping. It's weird. I mean,
it does.
I've
I agree.
Had that a little bit, but I've never really thought about it like that.
Yeah, but I never thought that it was kind of going to wash over me or anything. You know what I mean?
Never,
I agree.
No.
Yeah, it does go up. I know what you mean. It ramps up. It does ramp up, doesn't it? Yeah.
Appears. We have to say appears.
Appears.
Appears. Yeah, there's a lot of.
Of course, it's me speaking. Of course, it's appears.
Yeah. But here's the other reason why. Okay, so when you're looking out, and when you're looking straight out, you're not actually looking straight. You are looking down. When you're looking at that horizon, you are looking down. Because as soon as you focus on that point, you are looking down because the water is below you. And that's where people get confused. They think that they are looking directly straight out at the horizon, but you're not looking straight out.
Down, yeah.
Yep, you're looking down.
As long as you're above mean sea level, you will always be looking down. And that's kind of one of the things, and I was thinking about it. If we had two scenarios, obviously, reality and flat Earth, and we had planes flying at 10,000 feet, we'll say. And, I mean, and this is very much so globe evidence, proof almost. When the plane flies away on flat Earth, we would see a big plane, and then as it went into the distance, it would shrink into a dot and then disappear. It would probably be, a smidget lower in perception than when it flew above you, right above you. But once it gets to that, your quote unquote horizon, it's going to disappear before it disappears bottom up. But go ahead.
I got a quick point to make before we go too far. Are you telling me that I cannot trust my senses? So let me give you an example. If I'm doing a little construction, right? Yep. And I need two pieces of wood of 17 inches and 3/4, I cannot just eyeball the piece of wood and measure it with my fingers, maybe elbow to the middle finger and kind of guess where it is. Do you tell me I need a tool, measuring tape, to get an accurate measurement?
Yes.
And the sense sucks,
okay,
bro.
Okay, well, a measuring tape will get you close, but it won't give you exact. There is a difference. A measuring tape is a very standard piece of equipment, but it is not exact. If you wanted it exact, then you would get a yardstick and with millimeters on it, and that would give you exact.
Well, no, I
That's
think
good,
exact
but
would be
you're
calipers,
telling me
actually.
you're telling me
When I-
if hold on, you're telling me if I need a 2 feet piece of wood, I can use my 2 feet like one behind another one because maybe the person that measured with their feet are smaller than mine. What the hell?
Yeah.
Damn, the census sucks, bro.
Well, like we're saying, the images we're looking at. That's exactly why we can't. Like, I mean, can't even argue that. I mean, is there anybody in the chat? Oh, hang on. Wait. Let me say what's up to people in the chat because, damn, I haven't. Let me see. It'll be very quick. What's up, Tombstone? What's up, Grizz? Let me see. Trombone. My bad. GPS. What's up? What's up, they and them? Ozzie. What's up, Math4? It's been a while. How you been? Or Math64? Damn, I'm just all dyslexic and shit today. What's up, Soul Survivor? What's up, Liar? What's up? Who is Hey, Amy. Happy to see you here. Minister Sobriety. What's up, man? It's been a while. Okay, Go and Sean Smith and Shane Rushton. I haven't seen you in a while. How you doing? Hey, Pipperat. And I think that is it. Oh, what's up, True Blood or True Blue? Damn, today is not a good day. Like any other day, I can read great. What's up, No Names? What's up, Charlie? I should not do this as I started already. There's way too many people. What's up, Fuck.
You're going to miss some people out. They're going to get upset.
I know, I got to keep going.
Shout out to Barney in the chat.
I don't see him yet.
And John Watson's there too.
Emicur Virus. John Watson's here too? I didn't see him.
Yeah, John's there. Yeah,
Don't make
next
me
to my
go.
name. And you haven't said my name yet.
Pipperat.
Look, you've got the Three Musketeers. You've got John Watson, Toady UK, and Barney Tearspell, right?
Yes.
What more could you need?
I just got there. Exactly. Well, anybody else that wants to join the panel, I don't want to exclude you. Like, I don't want to exclude Dark Seed. The only name I passed up.
You know, Toady, I don't see Channel X in there. I'm pretty sure you are Channel X.
Oh, I know. We
Here's the problem.
That's how rumors start.
Channel X is probably the most, or like, I get triggered fast. He gets triggered extra fast. And then he gets upset. Like, he gets triggered and upset. It's weird. But yeah, you don't oh man, I've tried to help him. Tried to get him to calm down. Hey man, you can't really act like that. You know, no one's gonna want you on the panels. And he was like, I know. I'm gonna figure it out. I'll calm down. And he never did.
Hey, shout out to they and them over here in the call. They and them. I am not in pain. Do I sound like I'm in pain?
It was just the way you come into the hangout, Jose, and there was a clip sound came over your microphone. Sounded like you were in pain after being in that hangout for 3 or 4 hours with Rumpus and LBB.
Oh yeah.
I was in pain listening. I was in pain listening.
I luckily didn't
I'm
have
sorry.
to, I didn't hear it because I had to do some stuff outside, but I recorded it.
Rumpus was hot, and so was Bob. Yeah,
hot. I wanted to hop in, but Bob came in extremely hot, and I just couldn't do it after that. Because I knew. First off, I understand what this guy was trying to put out, but he wasn't understand basic perspective, and to break it down to that level would have been really easy. And Erebus was getting there with him, but Erebus was getting frustrated because the way his explanation was coming across a little bit different.
The animosity was getting high because I called out Erebus. I told him, I don't agree with your approach. You're just doing it. It's up to you. Then Bob came in hot, and I also told Bob, I don't appreciate the way you're approaching this, but hey, it's on you. I just stepped back and let him go at it.
Yeah, to be fair to LB, he stuck in there, with us, and then he went through Rumpus and a bit of me and a bit of Brian, I think. And Rumpus was quite hot too. They're probably not as hot as Erebus and Bob had been. So he stuck in there. He stuck the course, which was really good. So full props to him for that.
Oh no, I set
odd
down
thing
my
about
phone
that
and
one is-
what I heard was rumpus. That's what I heard. I heard rumpus screaming and shouting, and that's what I heard. And that's pretty
Yeah.
bad because I had headphones on playing a video game.
Yeah, so it's here's a trip about it. A while back, and Jose, I know you've gone through this, where you start seeing who can be on panels together and who can't at all. Like if you put them on a panel, you know it's shit show is going to happen. And sometimes, or I'm gonna say most of the time, it's a flat earther that will figure out a way to start triggering people before he has to leave. Well, there's some people that in our community that like they're triggered just because they're there. Rumpus by far is I think Rumpus holds the crown of trigger because I mean the second the show starts and he gets on the panel, he's ready to go, yelling already, telling people to hold on 75 times, repeats himself, and then wash whatever.
Yeah,
But
sometimes he doesn't let people sometimes talk enough as well. Like today, he really jumped on me, and it's yeah. You just need to let people.
He got in your
get the
case,
words out.
Tony. Yep, bad.
He did. Yeah,
there's
and I
something
wasn't, and then I'm, as you say, Sean, I then mixed my words up because he started, hammering, and I can see how some of the flat earthers must, respond to that as well. Sorry, I'll shut up.
No, you're good. You're good. Here's the crazy. It's going to sound weird. I'm okay with that. I mean, it's irritating as fuck, and I'll even tell him to stop. But at least he's having the argument. But here's what I have an issue. I don't even have an issue with it. It's just frustrating to me. The flat or the glober who gets on a panel to talk to a flat earther and asks a question. If the person answers it wrong and or says I can't, all right, we're done. No more. We don't have, nope. No more questions. We don't even have to talk to you. We know you're fake. We know you don't know no shit. It's like, we're on a live stream, dude. We can't just be on for 3 seconds, say flat earther's wrong without talking about it, and then just walk away. And there's a few that do that religiously almost, and it gets kind of frustrating. I mean, you understand?
Yeah, I've been exposed
Yeah.
again. I've been exposed again by Sean Hawkins while my stream was going at the end. So they told me, "Hey, Sean Hawkins is making an apologize video for Jose," and I click on it,
Yeah, he said,
and he was going. It was funny.
yeah,
He was
that's another
going.
dude. Like, I don't even think he gets triggered. I think he just likes being an asshole.
Oh, he just say like, fuck you, Jose. You give time to flat earthers. You let flat earthers in your panel. So fuck you. That's Sean Hawkins. Shout out to him.
Yeah. The funny part is the first 2-3 months he was streaming, he was like begging flat earthers to come on.
Well, that's the thing. It works both ways, right? You're not going to show
100%.
if you've not got, it's like Nathan as well. I mean, I think that's why it's quite good to boycott it actually, because if QE and Nathan haven't got people, you don't have a lot of a show. Do you see what I mean? It works both ways, right? And so you need a debate. You need the people to have the debate. I've noticed it's not been good for flat Earth recently. Well,
I would
agree.
agree.
So hang on, they've lost. Hang on,
go ahead.
So last week they've lost. I'll list them off, and you can tell me, Sean. So they've lost. Trish seems to have come over. What's that guy? Daniel Pratt has left, which is a bit of a shocker. Yeah. And there's one other. Who's the other who's come over recently? Just converted. Anyway, there's three.
Just to correct you on that, Tony Shaw, Daniel Pratt hasn't come
he?
over. No, he has.
No, not come over. Quit. Sorry.
Yeah, he's just went to sort out. As he put it, he has to sort out his own house first. That flat Earth is for him now personally, and not for him to change other people's minds.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to misrepresent it because I know that you're right. Then
in the garage.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, Daniel Pratt with the hood on. You know the guy with the hood on who always looks a bit beardy.
Damn. Yeah. Well, the way I see it is, if we're gonna have the discussion, we have to have the discussion. I don't think the debate part of it. I don't want that. I mean, realistically, I can tell you guys right now, I could do a 2-hour stream and no one on my panel. I can do it. We can do a 5-hour stream, and I've done it before with no flat earthers on the panel. To me, I'd rather divert from let's talking flat and globe. It always ends up there. And now, like today, I had this on my brain, so it's more than okay that we're talking about it. But if we're talking perspective, why don't we just talk perspective? If we're talking, if people ask, what about gravity? Let's figure out gravity. But to be sitting here trying to disprove what's already on the table, it's either one of two things. One, they really just have no clue. They don't understand it. It's confusing, and they need to hear it 75 times before it sinks in. And then you have the other side where it's, all right, well, they have to know gravity works because they can explain it. But their answer for it, their solution for what would be the alternative, is so off. I can't muster how it's possible to even say density.
Chunji, but you don't understand. If you want to debate gravity, pull your dictionary, pull at least 10 quote mining and cherry pick quotes, and then we're ready to discuss gravity. It's all about definitions and mind quoting and cherry pick quotes. Boom.
But that's kind of the point. Is when you get into a debate and it's cherry pick quotes and things like that. You're not really discussing anything. You're just going over semantics at that point.
Yeah, and you're not looking at the volume of evidence, are you, either? You see
right,
what I mean?
exactly.
You've got it, as you say, cherry-picked, so it's skewed already.
You're going for the win, is what it is. And your audience and the viewers are going for their side to win, so no one's really taking much in.
And even
it's not an honest discussion. Is trying to understand what it is. It's not going through definitions and discuss one word and the semantics and the definitions. It's try to understand the subject presented, that one point. Just break it down and understand it. But you have to visualize it and do the test and see all the points of view. Don't follow that one path because you got 10 quotes. All you have to argue is those 10 quotes and the definitions and stay there forever. You have to open your mind and see the whole picture. It's sad the way some people approach this type of debates. Shout out to Anthony Riley.
And that's why I fully agree. And that's why I liked, Jose, the thing you put earlier, because I think if I had the job, right, of trying to help someone understand it who was maybe thinking, flat earth, I had them in a room or whatever, I think showing them a few different things, like you did the rocket thing, and we could see obviously that Musk has sort of picked that up. It wasn't fake in '94. I think we looked the other day at the what was it called, Skylab. Yeah, we looked at the Skylab footage, which came before CGI and everything. And that was really good, wasn't that, Skylab? Because one guy, I can't remember who it was, Farmers said someone said it was the inside of one of those massive Saturn V rockets, right? And it's like huge. And those guys doing all that ballet and stuff, right? There's no way that anyone faked that with wires or anything. Do you see what I mean? We look at this older stuff and it's amazing how much proofs are in that. It's very good, I think, to look at these kind of areas. And you look at 20 of them and you go,
a lot of these old school little videos that I present is a big part of the foundation, the building blocks of what we have today, where we are on technology, advance, and all this, advancement and all the amazing stuff that we see from whatever space agencies, if you want to say it. But the building block, everything is being documented. You just got to dig for it and find it. It's not going to look as good as now, of course, camera quality, technology, but the tests and the build-up is being documented. You just have to look for it,
Well, I think another part of the problem is we use the term argument, and an argument means that there's a winner. When we say discussion, that means that we're coming to a resolution. And I think that either way you look at it, that is the overall goal is to come to a resolution. It's not to have an argument and win, because the evidence is going to prove either right or wrong either way. It has to be a discussion.
There are some people though who are entering these panels and stuff as I'm going in to win. I'm going in to make these people look stupid. I'm going to go and talk down to them. I'm going to go hot, and I'm going to go for the jugular. Mm-hmm. And I've yet to see what that achieves for helping put their point across.
It gets, what ends up happening is you hear someone repeating themselves 75 every debate, basically. The person across it basically just comes a shit talk fest every time. There's a group that we could look to for illustration, but I'm sure we all have an idea of who I'm talking about.
Flat Earth.
No, actually, I was thinking like
it-
Red's
it
rhetoric,
cuts-
fight the flat Earth.
Yeah. It cuts both ways. There are people like that on both sides.
Well, here's the thing.
Right? And
It wasn't like that for a long time.
So as much as I kind of advocate for conversations and sharing understanding and not getting into conflict, but kind of working together towards a resolution of sharing ideas, well, I at least understand people who are out there to debate, to bring down the other guy's argument through his argument, right? For a sincere debate. The people that I disagree with on both sides are the people who are obviously in it just for the fun, who don't care about who don't care if what they're saying is correct, who only care that they make a fool out of the other person.
Yeah, or get everyone to divert off the topic at hand. That's their goal.
And if you have an ounce of knowledge on the issue, if you have an ounce of understanding on the issue, like, you can clearly see that the person is wrong. Like, even I'm not talking about flat earthers. I'm talking in general about both sides, because I've seen Globers run in headlong and deny things which are obviously true, or which are known to be true, or which are, like, to the extent that we can use the word proven to be true, and saying no, because they support an argument that a flat earther is presenting. Instead of finding where the error is in the argument, they deny the fact.
I got a tiny update to make. DITRH has just uploaded another video. It's called Sun Fade Out. I wonder if in this one he will add the lens used and the type of solar filter that he used to put this video up of the Sun Fade Out number 6. Boom.
Who did?
He keeps doing it. Yeah. DITRH.
DITRH.
Yeah. Weiss. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Is it David Weiss or something? Yeah. Can't remember his name. By the way, Sean, you've got Channel X and Toady both on the panel, both talking separately.
Oh, I
Greetings,
knew they weren't
hello.
the same because
There you go.
Toady doesn't get triggered like Channel does.
Channel X.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just a recording.
Okay, I'm gonna be very mean to Crash, and you guys don't judge me for
Yes.
it. Do not talk about food.
So what were you saying about me being triggered?
Oh yeah, that's right. You get triggered by far the easiest and the fastest.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I presented a conspiracy yesterday.
From the start,
I think yesterday I presented a conspiracy.
You getting your trigger getting ramped up. I think before I used to remember you kind of left, and then you kind of I used to have to go. Wait, whoa, relax, breathe it out. You're ramping like the horizon, yo.
I think yesterday I presented a conspiracy, and I think Farmer's Boy and the Casual Spaceman are the same person. Just saying.
I think what this debate does,
Who conspired? Who conspired towards what goal with what motivation?
I'm not sure, but Farmer's Boy has been in a new job and he hasn't been able to join a lot. He joined the other day, but then we have had this new character called this Casual Spaceman, and he's been on a camera now with green screen. I never seen Farmer's Boy on camera, but he sounds a lot like him, very much like him.
Wait a minute, I have a picture of Farmers.
Oh,
You
we
mean
just
you
got a
think
lift real
you've got a
quickly.
picture? You
From the
think you've
rumpus.
got a picture, Sean G? You think
Conspiracy.
you have?
I guarantee I've seen it. I guarantee you, anybody who shows that picture isn't going to show that picture because they want to. It's him.
But it's a conspiracy, Sean. It's a conspiracy. How will we know?
Well, who's it to conspire against?
Well, it's them. They're obviously introducing new characters because they feel the need to. So they've burnt Farmer's Boy out. He knew a lot about space as well. And then when the Casual Spaceman comes along, he knows a lot about space too. And they pretty much sound the same. I'll put them
Yes.
with my AI. I'll promise you-
Please be
Hang on.
precise. Is it them, or is it they, or is it them and they?
Hang on. Let me just continue because there's an interesting thing coming up, Barney.
Wait.
So
Hey,
I've got-
Tony, are you
I've shared this
diverting
before. I'll
because
share it here.
you don't want us to think
I'm
about
not.
you in Channel X? Is that what you're doing right now?
No.
It's a diversion.
There's something interesting coming up that I
distract us.
will on this talk about. So I've got a new AI thing at work. We have an AI lab, right, with Google. We're working with Google with a hypercomputer. We've got an AI lab, and we've got the ability to feed big data into it. And I've been feeding a lot of data into that, right? The various links between things and transcripts of a lot of the different sessions that people have. Our ones, by which I mean Jose's ones, and other ones like Fight the Flood Earth, and indeed Nathan Oakley's, yeah. And it builds up this picture, the AI, of interesting linkages, yeah. And a load of the linkages all point at Spurs, which is why I've obviously come up with my view on Spurs.
Spurs is the
And that is a practical use of AI, right? There you go.
So hold on, Tony. What you're saying is that you have access to a huge computer with AI, and Channel X is now on here, and you had to bring it up that it's a completely different person.
And I take objection, Tony, that you even remotely put Spurs and useful into the same sentence.
So what's this conspiracy now?
Spurs is a Russian bot.
He's a Russian AI bot.
That's
No,
right.
he's not.
Russian
He's not
AI
an
bot.
AI. He's a Russian English teacher who has been hired by the Kremlin for his English-speaking abilities to sow discord and
You were listening
misunderstanding
the other
amongst
day. Ah.
Is the
amongst
Kremlin still a
Americans.
thing?
It can be.
Oh.
It's a distraction.
It's all part of the conspiracy by day.
Yes,
They're panic.
No,
They're in
it's not
panic
they.
mode.
It's them. It's them.
he's part of the Trump's re-election campaign.
Oh shit! You're doing a great job.
Oh, please let's not talk about politics. Thank you.
And we all know we have been lied to. We know.
We know.
We
We know that they have been lying to us.
Yeah.
See, it is they. It is they. But
It's
not
like
them. It's they.
We
Wait.
It's
know
like,
Hey,
that-
how about this?
why?
Hang on. Wait one second.
Why
one
is a
second.
distraction
Hey,
to keep us
they-
from the truth of Z?
Yeah, they and them. Why are you doing this to us?
Because nobody gives me enough bacon.
I
And
You
we're
already
understand.
said
allowing the,
that?
Ca-
Here's
we're
the thing.
allowing the
You said that,
Canadians
and I'm
to
sitting
sell
there
hammered
staring
bacon.
I'm staring at your avatar, and it was kind of creepy.
No,
That-
I always find it very attractive. I think it's a friendly little dog. I always look
It
at
looks
them
like
and think, oh, it's
it looks
friendly.
like
Yeah.
Spit. It looks like Spit the dog.
Who?
That was done
Did you
purely
just say
just to
spit the
end the
dog?
broad.
Yes, there's a there's a character in 70s, 80s television in Britain, and his name
jeez.
is Bob Carroll G's, and he had a puppet
I'm gonna look it up now.
puppet character called Spit the dog, and he would spit at people, and that
Yeah,
was
Lamb
it.
Chop.
There you go. Lamb
Nah,
Chop did
I know
no spitting.
Benji.
Yeah, but
Lamb
Lamb Chop
Chop's
had a
awesome.
never-ending song.
Oh,
Damn.
please don't. If you do, I'll sing the 3-hour tour song. I'll sing that. Stick that in your head for the next few
Yeah,
days.
but again, mine's a never-ending song. And trust me, I've gone a day doing that before to piss someone off.
Oh my word!
Mhm.
I'll sing the never-ending story. That will never get out of your head.
You actually
Never ending
remember
story,
Lamb
that's
Chop? Huh?
No.
Absolutely.
No.
Wow.
How could you forget? This is the best
Oh,
time.
I
Sometimes when I want to piss my son off, I'll
There you go.
turn
It's
I'll turn
Bob
my
Carroll
surround
G's.
sound speakers
See?
There you
on,
go.
Look
and
at
then
that. That
I'll
looks
I'll
exactly
literally
like.
make him listen to that song, and I'll put my computer on sleep so he can't
sadist.
turn it off. Yeah, and so he's had to listen to it for like 3 hours before. It's great.
There you
He's
go.
got the friendly. He's got the
there you go.
ears, but the teeth. I don't Channel X. I'm not
That
sure about the
is-
teeth.
A creepy ass animal.
Exactly. That is
is-
creepy.
that's Bob
Whereas
Carroll's using Spit the
they and
Dog.
them's one is friendly, right? Where's them? I can't see
Oh,
him.
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway,
They and
wherever
them,
he is.
his dog is much friendlier. It's
This
definitely.
is
Oh,
what
look.
we.
See. That's
This is
friendly,
what
right? Look, that's friendly.
It was just
the
the way he
70s
said bacon.
in the 70s. This is what we consider to be viable entertainment.
With that avatar, I'm almost certain that they and them is a cat. And now,
The only good cat is a dead one.
What's Bob
Wow.
Dylan doing with?
and now
bloody-
thinking about it, the whole reptilian invasion conspiracy theory that was started by cats to throw us off the
to
scent.
distract us from.
from what they're up to.
But they and them, yeah.
Cats eat your face.
I will debate anybody on
Yeah.
that we should exterminate all cats. Bring it
Can
on.
you just say bacon once more time, they and them? Please just say bacon.
Bacon.
Yeah, there's some good shit right there. It's funny.
Yeah.
You have a way.
How do you get that with a B and an A?
Bacon. It's softer than Pete Shea, though, isn't it? Right? Pete's is a slightly different.
Sing-songy, more
Yeah,
County Durham.
bacon.
What are you bacon? Bacon? What are you bacon? Bacon? Yeah, but what? Bacon?
Well, if you break down bacon and you change a couple of the letters out, and it comes out to Eric Starkus.
Eric, who?
Jose, what the hell did you start?
We're just having fun. This is great fun.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry.
George Starkus' kid, Eric.
Eric's.
Wait.
Don't forget,
Go ahead, Crash. Talk about your damn food.
I'm
you
hungry.
can't
Please don't.
forget this guy's ham. It's all a conspiracy.
What is?
Canadian bacon. It's
You're
their
stealing
way
that
of
shit?
controlling international ham prices. Yes.
There's no such fucking thing as Canadian bacon. It doesn't
For real?
exist. They don't have
Oh, it is.
bacon
It's
in
that
Canada.
horrible, thin, strippy stuff, isn't it? Was that the
Fucking-
American bacon?
It's ham. It's a fucking ham.
Ham, exactly.
Actually,
It's a
I-
slice of ham.
So in
I have a
America,
little,
it's so when I go for those buffets, right, in international restaurants, is that Canadian bacon I'm eating or American bacon? You know, the thin, very thin and gimbly stuff, right? It's like really thin, little strips of stuff. But you've got to put 500 of them on your plate to have a decent portion.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be
Canadian.
that would be smoked pork bellies that are lovely when they're fried.
mhm.
just say
Really?
don't talk about food.
They're generally undercooked,
Okay.
I
The
think.
other thing you don't want to do is watch the Great British Baking Show. I think it's called. My wife is watching it right now. When you're hungry, or even when you're not hungry, it's absolutely appalling to watch. You just want to run out and buy a gatto and eat the whole thing.
A what?
A gatto?
What is that?
What?
A gâteau. It's a
Gâteau.
French word for meaning a cake. It's a lovely cake, like Black Forest gâteau. Have you never
You
had
mean
Black
a
Forest
fucking
gâteau?
pastry?
Gatto.
Yeah,
Here we
but
go.
in
Right.
Spanish
Gatto
it
is a
means
word.
cat.
This
Gatto
is
is a word.
the stuff that I'm talking about here.
Oh
this
yes,
stuff.
it's American.
That's
Little
American bacon,
Yeah,
right?
that's American
Real
bacon.
bacon.
Right.
Proper. Here we go. Look,
Gosh.
Stuff that
American
tastes
bacon.
good.
See what I mean? Loads of it. Real bacon. Look at this. Real bacon.
That's not
Proper
bacon, that's
Yeah.
ham.
Gatto?
bacon.
Gatto?
That
One
is
on the
ham.
right, one on the
Yeah,
left
that's
Sliced
not
ham.
bacon.
is bacon. The one on the right is confused.
Is ham.
It's ham.
Gato is Spanish for cat. Conspiracy confirmed.
Boom.
Is it?
This is a gâteau. If you've never heard of a gâteau, here's a gâteau. Here's a typical Black
got-
Forest type
it's
gâteau.
just-
Lovely.
It's a French word with about 9 superfluous letters in it.
Why are we diverting from the fact that ham is trying to hide itself as bacon?
How is that possible? You can't.
Oh,
You call it ham. Do you call it ham? You Americans call it ham.
By the way, that's not how you spell gato.
Did I spell
G-A-T-O.
it wrong?
Gato. That's how you should spell it. It's spelled with 4 M's
Yeah,
and a
well, no,
silent
this is
Q.
ham, right? This is what I would call ham. This stuff, right?
Good grief,
Ham.
we're bored.
Yeah, that's 100% ham.
See, look at those slices of ham right
Wait,
there.
time out. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop. Fuck you, Crash. Fuck you.
See, we've got on the food.
Yeah. Stop sharing. No more bacon sharing. Go away. Go eat something, Crash. What were we talking
That
about?
should be the title.
I'm
Change the
having
title of the
a-
video.
Pizza with
I'm gonna have
real
to
bacon and hot
Are going
wings
to
and
have a
cheesy
fucking
garlic
heart
sticks.
attack and pulmonary artery, whatever, something. I'm gonna beat
Just
your ass.
Change
too.
the title of the video. Change the title of the video to "No More Bacon Sharing."
What?
I don't know.
No,
I'm just
that's
talking.
blasphemy. Don't ever
I'm-
say that again.
I'm
As much
drunk.
as I hate Crash talking about food, don't ever badmouth fucking bacon. Bacon, man. America.
You know, Sean. Sean.
America.
The difference between the British, Canadian, and American. It's all about perspective.
The angular resolution of the bacon.
I know what I gotta do. I'm gonna end this damn stream right now. Not really.
Somebody mentioned bacon sharing. I ain't sharing my bacon with anybody.
God, man.
We
what's wrong
can
with
talk
you
about
people?
rocket fuels.
Quick, change the subject.
I don't even remember what we were talking about now.
Nor do I. We went
I
off.
tried to bring it back with perspective.
Conspiracies. Yeah, it was
Perspective.
conspiracies,
There
wasn't
you
it? We were talking about perspective before that. Yeah, it was
Okay,
pretty good.
we can go conspiracies. We can go perspective. We're done on food.
Oh, so
The
I have,
acceleration of gravity is upwards.
Thank you.
okay. So I have a confession.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Right, are you sure you want to share?
You really Toadie's
Big
AI
Greg.
bot?
No, good gracious.
Wait. Are you Toadie's
Anyway.
clone?
I don't
I
sound anything like
follow the
Toadie.
procedure. How long has it been since your last confession?
I don't know what that means. Catholic. It's Catholic.
Yeah,
Catholic.
Catholic.
I've just seen that in movies. That's all, and Saturday Night Live. Or
Oh,
well,
it's
no,
real. They do that.
I've just the only time I've ever seen that sort of confession thing is in Dave Allen skits. Anyway,
Forgive me, Sean, for I have sinned.
Forgive me, Barney.
It
Everyone,
has been
please,
2 months
please
since my last
repeat after
confession.
me. Barney is God. Thank you.
everyone repeat after
You,
me.
man.
I have.
Yeah,
I have
you don't confess your sins to God. You confess them to a priest. You say, "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned."
Exactly.
Forgive
Forgive me,
God.
brothers. And it has been 2 months
And
since my last confession.
If I'm a God, if anybody is my priest, that's got to be Sean.
It has been 18 years since my confession.
Damn it,
The
Crash.
Pope of the Church of Barney.
Okay, let's
Nissan.
get this back. All right. Someone in the chat, topic, go. You guys are slow.
Hold on, I can't switch screens that fast.
Yeah, because you probably have a pizza in your fucking hand.
Do you have cameras in my house?
No. Stop that. All right, we gotta get back on topic.
You might well,
We were
Hi,
mentioning
Crashes.
gravity a while ago,
Oh, okay.
and
Are we serious now?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, why not? He asked for a topic.
Okay, I was just going to ask people to say I have a passion for Worcestershire sauce.
Yeah, see, I'm gonna kick you off my damn panel.
Kick him, get rid of that channel. He's triggered.
Whoever
He's
talks
triggered.
about food next, I'm kicking you off my panel. Unless you were saying something about
In the
something
context
else.
of Flat Earth.
Okay, let's go into it this way.
So the
Okay,
standard challenge from flat earthers is that thing that we measure, that acceleration that we measure. How do you know it's gravity? How can you attribute that acceleration to gravity? The answer to that is very, very simple. That acceleration that we measure is gravity. That is literally what we call gravity. It doesn't matter what it is caused by in that sense, right? Even if Riley is completely right and it's relative density thingy,
specific gravity.
Equilibrium.
That's still gravity.
Relative density is equilibrium. So that's my argument that I've always taken with him, Barney, by the way, because I go, oh, well, I'm not getting into whether it's Einsteinian or Newtonian. I measure a thing. I can use it in the real world. I can see it. I'm calling that gravity. So you can define gravity any way you like. We don't even need to call it gravity. We could call it flublop or some other name. I still see this force. It still occurs. Yeah. It still is real. I can still measure it. Yeah. And this is, of course, why he goes down the legal route and always goes with the ands and his, definitions of whatever. I think it's a very good argument to say, as you just did there, that we can measure it and we can see it and we can use it. That's good enough for me, for most circumstances.
We've given it a name.
Yeah, we've called it gravity, which is quite reasonable. But he'll say, so I play straw man. So he will say to you, Barney, no. How can you possibly call it that? How can you prove that it's that? You're not up in the latest science, right? Gravity doesn't exist. Einstein and all the latest scientists have put in all their papers that gravity actually is a joke. It is a non-force force that occurs in four-dimensional, I can't remember what they said. They've got some phrase, haven't they, that Nathan keeps repeating, pseudo-Riemannian, space, and it's a non-force force. It's a conceptual medium, and you're bending a conceptual medium. You're bending space-time, which is conceptual. That's a load of rubbish, Barney. You're wrong.
I'm
Well,
wrong.
here's part of the problem.
So
Here's part of
wait,
the problem.
wait. I will agree with all of those things.
Right,
Am I
so
wrong?
you're admitting that gravity doesn't exist. That's fine. You're admitting gravity doesn't exist. Thank you, Barney.
So
I've won. I've been Nathan
now,
Eltley,
yes.
and I love you.
Now what do you need to do?
by the same thing that you've said a little while ago, it's the thing that we can measure. Well, we can't measure it, right?
Like,
When you take any apparatus for measuring acceleration, you can't measure gravity.
can't
What you
Isn't
can
my
measure
weight-
is what you can measure is electromagnetic repulsion of the Earth.
Oh, Jesus
And no, I'm
Wait,
dead serious.
no,
I'm not even joking.
isn't your weight a measurement of gravity? I mean, it's what does it? Well, your
No,
mass plus the acceleration.
no.
Right.
It's how hard the electrons of the surface you're standing on are pushing you away by,
Yeah,
right?
see,
Or what you're
now-
hanging on.
Now you're
right.
fucking with me. Now I can tell you're fucking
No,
with me.
I'm
Barney,
not.
I hate you.
I'm not.
He definitely
any-
is, sure. He definitely is. So hang
Wait.
on, you're saying that there is no such thing as gravity, so we don't see a force when we measure that thing on the scale. So if I got a pair of scales and I put a weight on it, Barney, I'm not measuring something there.
You are measuring something there.
okay.
You're measuring the electromagnetic repulsion between the surface of the scales and the object that you're putting on it.
Now, how do you know that? Citations, please.
Oh, fuck off.
What if I put it in a Faraday cage?
I have a
So
question.
here,
Hang on, Brian, I have a question.
no,
So,
wait. Let me just put the intuition in there, because what I've said so far is completely unintuitive. If you put something on a carousel, like an accelerometer, and you spin that carousel, that accelerometer will measure the what's it called? Centripetal force. It will not measure the centrifugal force, right? The accelerometer will tell you that the thing is accelerating towards the center. Is that counterintuitive? Does anybody
Lost me
disagree
already.
with that?
Not at
Right.
all.
Right? If you take an accelerometer and hang it by a string and spin it around yourself, it will show you the force inwards. But if you put an accelerometer into an object in orbit, it will show no force acting on it. It will show no acceleration whatsoever.
Hang on. So I'm in orbit now. I'm in the ISS, and I've got an accelerometer in my phone or whatever. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yep. Might be a tiny one. It depends how far in orbit you are. But yeah, I suppose there could be a little bit of gravity. There's a bit of gravity out there, isn't there?
When you take an accelerometer and hold it on the Earth, it will measure an upwards push, which is mediated by the electromagnetic repulsion between the electrons of the atoms, repulsing each other and preventing the atoms from going through each other, right?
No, I
And
don't get that bit. Where's the electromagnetic force in the atoms coming in? You keep losing me at that point, Barney. You're jumping too far ahead. I'm missing something basic.
I'm talking about tactile sensation, about rigid bodies, right? Every rigid body, every tactile sensation is just electromagnetic repulsion.
I see. At the interface, you mean, between the two objects?
When the atoms are far enough apart, the Coulomb forces, which also work as the square root of distance, right? They cancel each other out. You have the positive nucleus and the negative electron. What's it called? The outer layer, right? The electron cloud around it.
But the force
Right?
I'm measuring.
But when you let me just finish the statement.
Sure.
When you put them closer and closer and closer together, as they approach each other, the distance between the electrons and the electrons becomes shorter before disproportionately to the distance between the electrons and the nucleus. That causes a repulsion at very short distances where electrons repulse each other, right? And cannot be cancelled out by the nucleus, which is further away and square of the distance again.
So this is where you keep losing me, Barney.
Yeah,
We've
to
got
up to what point does that? Can you do that?
That's literally what touch is. Physical contact.
Right, but where you've lost me is, right, I don't disagree that you put two objects together and there is that electrons touching electrons, right, and that is stopping the two things of us melding together or merging, right? I've got no problem with that. But it still doesn't mean that gravity isn't there. That's not the force of gravity, those two things.
Oh,
why are you saying that's the force of gravity? This is where you've lost me.
Okay. So
go slowly. You've made some kind of paradigm jump, and you've lost me in the process, and I'm probably still catching up. Or I'm just being stupid as usual.
I know. So
what's up, Rumpus?
Is Rumpus in here?
He is here. He just.
Sorry.
Hi, Rumpus.
Claim an accelerometer tells you the direction. It doesn't. It just tells you there's well, if you're not using weighing scales, you don't know whether the accelerometer is being moved in or something's being moved out. If you have, it just tells you that the thing's being compressed. It doesn't tell you you've got a centripetal.
Actually, mine has two.
Yeah, it's just
mine has a positive and negative, and I can tell when I'm going up hills or moving downhill.
You don't know whether you don't know whether the bottom of your accelerometer is being pushed up or the thing is pushing down. You know that there's a compressive or an expansive force, but you don't know from the accelerometer whether which way it's moving. So you don't know whether it's centripetal or centrifugal, and it's actually centrifugal because it's the it would be interesting because the thing's actually if you're spinning around. If you put your scale in between, it depends. Okay, it depends if you're putting something on it or you're pulling on it. It depends how you've arranged your accelerometer, I suppose. If you put it between the accelerometer and an object at the other side of it, but if you put the object inside of it, then it would be measuring centrifugal force of an object. It depends which way you want to. But you can't. But it doesn't tell you anyway by default. That's my point.
Are we talking about these kind of accelerometers? Is this the ones we're talking about, electronic accelerometers, or are we talking about a different type of accelerometer? I just want to check what we're talking about because I'm totally.
But there again, it doesn't know.
Well, this does, doesn't it? This knows direction to some extent, doesn't it? These accelerometers.
Well, no, you could be pushing. You could have something. You
need three of them to get all the distances. I've got three of these in my phone, so I know up, down, X, Y, Z.
There is one and only one way to measure acceleration. And all accelerometers, when you break them down, like the mechanism might be different, but the principle is the same. And it is the principle of inertia, right? As something changes its motion, a massive body resists that change in motion.
Okay, fair enough. I agree. Yep.
Actually, that would work. Yeah, that would tell you the direction because you've got as the inertia of the thing inside it. You would be accelerating one way or the other, so you would get a positive and negative in that particular thing. I thought you were talking about weighing scales, which wouldn't tell you.
Yeah, here we go.
No, I'm talking about accelerometers.
Okay, sorry. Okay, no, I'll take that back then, Barney.
Here we go. We got like that. We got a spring. We've got a mass, and obviously the piezoelectric material that gets squashed. And this is the inertia, right, Barney? The mass that is resisting the move.
Yes.
And we push it up this way, I suppose, or down this way, actually. And it's going to, it's going to release the pressure or it's going to make more pressure on the piezoelectric material.
Yes.
In which case, it would measure the centrifugal force. So we wouldn't
No.
Yes.
The direction of the acceleration is opposite of the motion of inertia, right? Within the frame of reference in which the accelerometer is motionless, you will have. No,
it would. The mass is trying to travel in a straight line, and if you held the accelerometer on a string and you span it round you, the accelerometer would be measuring the centrifugal force because the mass would fling out in the direction outwards, and so you'll be measuring the centrifugal force.
Okay. Well. Let's take a simpler example. You have a car, right? And you put the pedal down in the acceleration pedal. What's it called in English? Damn it.
Accelerator.
The accelerator, right? You push the accelerator down, and you look at what happens to the inertial mass inside the vehicle, right? So one option is the car is accelerating forward and everything else is stationary. The other option is the car is stationary and everything else is accelerating backwards. How do you distinguish between those things? You put something that has inertia on the ground and in the car.
Yeah.
Right? The thing that's on the ground will remain stationary will not show any acceleration, any inertia either way. And the thing in the car will tilt backwards, telling you that there is a force forwards, right? The way the force acts on the car is opposite of the way the force of inertia acts within that frame of reference.
Right, but in my spinning round example, the weight of the inertial mass would be flung out.
Yes, therefore the force is pointing, right?
Relative to the thing. Okay, it depends what it does. Okay, it depends what it's being flung at. So in other words, it's being subjected to centrifugal force, but then it decides what the accelerometer then does with the value that it gets. But it's centrifugal force
if the object is flung backwards by its inertia, that means that the acceleration is forwards. If the object is flung outwards in a rotating system, that means that the force is acting inwards.
No. It's on a spring in effect. So it would feel the force that's the spring force that would be measuring it that's extended would actually have to be acting inwards, but the force acting on the mass is acting outwards. So it depends whether you're talking about what the mass. It depends what end of which way it's met. It depends which foot the force on the spring or the force on the mass is what you really. But the point is the thing is trying to go in a straight line. Obviously, the thing's being spun around.
Yes, but
so it's the centrifugal force, and then you're measuring the centrifugal force by having the thing on your string or the inertial the thing is pulling it back to, because obviously the thing's trying to pull it back to where it wants to the central point. Obviously it's got to pull it centripetally. I'd agree, but the actual mass is being subjected to a centrifugal force,
which is a fictional force. It's just inertia.
Inertial force, exactly. So
right, inertial forces are not forces. Inertial forces are the reaction to the force.
Well, they're apparent forces.
Effects of the force.
They are apparent. They are measurable in exactly the same way as other forces. So they're real. They are real in the sense you can measure them. They're not. It's not so they don't exist.
There is a reason why we use inertial frames of reference as the base frame of reference.
Okay, if you're going to use the inertial frame reference as the frame reference, then yes, it would be measuring the centrifugal. It depends on which one
That's why I use the example of the car. You would never say that when you push your pedal, the universe moves backwards, right? While your car remains stationary.
Yes. Okay. If you're going to use the frame of reference of the mass, then yes, it would be.
No, you would never say that. You're right. You would never say that. Yeah.
I would. Well, you could. It's being subjected to centrifugal force, but the thing that's holding it in place is the centripetal force. So, yeah. Okay. So I'll take it. Okay. I'll take it back, Barney. Then, yes, you're looking from that point of view of the inertial force, then you can say you're right, yes. But I would argue that it's being subject to a centrifugal force, but it's being measured by a centripetal force.
So but, okay, we get confused because we always assume that we ourselves are the inertial frame of reference.
Excuse me, flat
when
Earth,
we're standing on the ground, when we're sitting in the car, right? I've literally had this conversation with Bob, which is what prompted him to correct his direction of gravity in that video. Oh my
God! You made him go wrong.
No, it's not wrong. Listen, when he said that when he measured things within the car as though they're the proper frame of reference, he had everything.
Hold on. Are you responsible for him turning G up the wrong way?
Yes, and I'm dead serious about it.
That's dead wrong.
No, it's not.
It is because the force of gravity acts towards the acceleration due to gravity acts towards the center of the Earth. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
Center of mass.
Center of mass of the Earth. Yes, was it center of the Earth?
No, the acceleration points towards the center of mass,
and so does the force. It accelerates. It goes in the direction of the force. The force accelerates.
Sorry. I misspoke.
Force and the acceleration have to be in the same direction.
Wait, I misspoke. The acceleration points down if you are in an accelerated frame of reference, right? When you use any kind of measurement, if you use any kind of...
If you're in the sun, you would see it doing the same thing.
Wait, Rumpus, let me finish the sentence.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. So if you use any kind of measurement tool that can measure acceleration and you drop that tool, the acceleration will go to 0.
Yeah, but that's okay. But you're talking about measuring tool. We're not interested in how you measure it. We're interested in what it's doing. And the force, the acceleration vector, is from the object to the center of the Earth. So imagine you're in the sun. Imagine you're sitting in the center of the sun looking at it. You would see the pen or whatever it is you're dropping would accelerate towards the center of the Earth, and it would be acceleration vector would be down, not up, which is what you seem to be convinced in is the case.
So the resolution in Newtonian physics is a case of special pleading. How? Because all accelerometers use
you're getting
mass.
confused between the measurement and what's actually the force vector. You're talking about the measuring device. That's not relevant.
You are really having a problem with letting me finish my sentence.
Sorry. I apologize.
I'm gonna watch you now, Rumpus. So be
sorry, Barney.
Okay, so in Newtonian physics, you are right. In Newtonian physics, it is explained by a case of special pleading, by saying, unlike any other force that we can measure and any other acceleration that we can measure, the tool of inertia cannot be used to measure gravity because inertia is equivalent to mass. The mass and inertia are the same thing. And that is what causes gravity.
Make it a charge if you want to. Make it a positive and negative charge thing.
But isn't...
If you make it a charge thing, then you can use inertia to measure the acceleration. And the acceleration will be pointing in the right direction, right?
Yeah, it's also
if you put two magnets together and put an accelerometer on one of them and let them attract each other, it will point out that the force and the acceleration are inwards.
Barney, you keep on trying to introduce what the accelerometer is doing. We don't need to go into that. We can just say what is the vector, the force vector, and the acceleration vector, and what direction it have. And then you're introducing accelerometer, which reverses it, because the way it measures things, the accelerometer does, is as you described earlier, where it has an inertial mass and it moves, and it's the opposite direction. But we don't want to work. We don't need to worry about the accelerometer. We can just say what is the force and acceleration vector, and that is very definitely down towards the center of the Earth.
In Newtonian physics, in Cartesian space, right?
Yeah.
Agreed, and that is then explained, as I said, by a case of special pleading, that this is a special force whose charge is mass, relevant. And therefore, wait. Wait. You keep interrupting me before I get to the point, right? The understanding that we kind of have now is general relativity, where Cartesian space is out of the window, and the whole concept of forces such as that and are out the window. What general relativity says is that those things that are falling, that are coming closer together while being in their inertial frames of reference. Right? In a mutual frame of reference of curved space-time, that as the space-time is curved, those things in the future will be brought together.
Yeah. You don't need to go to. You're getting confused. You can't see the wood for the trees because you're worrying about these accelerometers and the fact that they basically work on.
I'm talking about general.
Opposite. Yeah, but no, that's not. You don't need
general relativity.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate it's an inertial frame of reference and all that, but you're getting confused. Your argument is basically one based around the measurement of an acceleration, which I've agreed with you. The way they work is they have to work on the reaction to the acceleration.
You have just completely ignored the last three sentences that I
because
gave.
They weren't relevant. The point is we don't need to go into that detail. Like we'll think with the car.
We don't need to go into general relativity if we're going to talk about gravity.
Correct. Okay, let's go back to your car example. Which way is the car being accelerated? Hold on. Let's go back to the car example. Hold on. No, it doesn't, because it's not relevant to this discussion. I can make a point.
No, it is.
Can I make my point, please? You've been speaking a lot. How about me having a go?
Okay.
Your car example.
You have a go.
Sorry, Sean. No, it's not relevant. And I'll explain why in a second if I get a chance. Gravity is a force because it's...
Gravity is a force.
Right. So, in your car example, in your car
And I've
example,
got some questions as well, just to add to the general confusion.
right. In
I'm
your
waiting
car,
politely.
Jesus Christ. In your car example, Barney.
Are we rumpusing rumpus?
Right. Yeah. Right. Barney, in your car example, the car is accelerating in the forward direction, but the accelerometer, as you pointed out, shows acceleration in the other direction. But the point is, the car
No.
is.
No,
Hold
it
on.
doesn't. It doesn't.
Come on. Let me fit you. Come on. I only interrupted you a few times.
Okay.
The
You
car
finish, then I'll correct you.
The car is accelerating forwards.
Could we
Your
draw a diagram? I'd love a
accelerometer-
diagram. It would help me.
Your accelerometer, because it effectively works on an equal and opposite reaction, is giving you the acceleration the other way. But that's because it's giving an equal opposite. You're getting confused between what the accelerometer is doing and what the car is doing. The car is very definitely accelerating forwards, but the accelerometer sees a force in the other direction because it's an inertia, as you said. But the car is accelerating forwards. Similarly, when a mass is dropped, it's accelerating downwards. For the same reason, you're getting confused between the measurement of the force and the direction of the force, and you're getting confused because the accelerometer does an equal and opposite reaction.
So, wait. I want to respond to this. I've let him talk, say his thing out completely. So, what I'm saying is not that the car is accelerating forwards and the accelerometer is showing an acceleration backwards. That is not what I said, specifically not what I said. The car is accelerating forwards and the accelerometer is showing the acceleration forwards by measuring the inertial force backwards in that frame of reference.
On the accelerometer, correct.
Right? Inertial force, in that case, the acceleration due to inertia in an accelerated frame of reference is not a real force. That is just resistance to the change of motion.
Yes.
Right? Yes. So when you put an accelerometer in a car and push the accelerator down, it is going to measure the inertia and tell you you're accelerating forwards. Right? And when you take that same accelerometer and put it on Earth, it is going to tell you that you're accelerating upwards as you stand still on the Earth. And when you take that accelerometer and drop it over the Earth, it is going to tell you I'm not accelerating in any direction.
You've changed what you said earlier. The accelerometer would show a force back.
No, you misunderstood me. I never said that. That's why I tried to jump in 3 times to say that I haven't said that. Then I let you finish your statement, and now I'm emphatically stating that that is precisely not what I said.
Right. Could you just look at the diagram so I can understand it, because I'm a bit lost. We've got a car. It's going in this direction. Are you saying, or are you not saying, that this accelerometer, because it kind of works backwards because it's resisting the spring, is working the other direction? No.
Still up and down.
This accelerometer is up and down.
No, we're not worried about gravity. He's just talking about accelerating cars. He's not worrying about. Oh, are you? He's talking about the accelerometer. Oh, you are talking about gravity. Oh, sorry.
He's talking about the accelerometer
in the car.
Yeah, when you're in the car.
The accelerometer in the car.
He's talking about the accelerometer in the car, Sean. He's talking about the accelerometer in the car.
Well, I said this earlier.
He's talking about the accelerometer in the car.
I've used one, and it literally, if you look at it, you can tell whether or not you're going uphill or downhill, closer to gravity, up further from it.
Yeah. We know this.
Okay, so that's what I was saying, and that's why I wasn't wrong. Damn, Rumpus. I'm just kidding.
I wasn't saying you.
I know. Relax, breathe. I was
Barney,
kidding.
can you explain what you're saying then, so I understand with this car, because I'm lost at the moment.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you tell me? Just tell me what is happening.
Barney had the last go. Let me try and review what. Right. So the car
Rumpus,
is accelerating.
Do me a favor, Rumpus. Slow down.
Okay, right.
You're like the Globe Lemon.
The car is accelerating forwards. The force is acting forwards. Right.
This way.
The accelerometer, because it's an inertial mass.
Here's the weight, by the way. I've zoomed in. This obviously isn't that big above the car, but this is a mass, okay, which is sitting in the car in the accelerometer. Do you understand what I mean? This is like a zoomed in view.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Right. So
you're going to do a diagram.
No, I quite like. Actually, for once, I like your diagram.
Okay.
Well, I could do it. So it help. I could. Right. Let's just. So the accelerometer.
Because
what the accelerometer actually measures is the force.
I'm trying to work out with the springs.
Right. So yeah. Yes, okay. Perhaps. Yeah. Right. Okay. So the accelerometer will show a force in the direction of acceleration. Yes, it will. Yes.
Will it?
But not from. Hold on. But not from the inertial. No. From the inertial frame reference of the weight. It's going to be from the inertial from the reference frame of the mass, which is what you're keen on looking at. I thought you said, and I think I agree, and I agreed with you, that from the no, okay, no, hold on.
Work it out.
Okay, well, I thought I'd agree with you saying the opposite. Okay, right. Okay, right. So okay. So perhaps I'm advised. I thought you said something else. And I thought I agreed with it. Now I'm deciding I don't agree with you. But you're now saying, in fact, I was right. Not right. Okay. Right. Okay. Let me start from scratch. From the inertial frame, from the mass that Toadie's looking at here, it will sense. It depends on where.
Well, it's on a spring, right? It's on a spring like I've drawn.
So the question is, where is this being measured from? So the point is, the mass is being accelerated to the right. So it must feel a force. But the question of the spring on it, right? This is the point. In the accelerometer, it will measure a force going backwards, as I thought you were saying.
No.
It would. So the force measuring, whatever measures this, if imagine if there was a little
wrong way, then should I put this arrow this way for this?
Yeah.
Which way is this block
okay,
going to go? We're accelerating this way in the car. Which way is this block going to go? This block is going to accelerate that way or that way.
The block is going to try to stay in place.
Exactly.
That's what inertia is.
Exactly. It's going to resist, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
So it will feel a force going forwards. That spring, because it will try and stay with the spring will be extended and it will exert a force going in the direction of the way. I thought you were. This is the reason why I thought you said something else, and I was agreeing with you with an hour. Perhaps I wasn't. Is that wherever the measuring device is, whether let's suppose it's measuring the extension of the spring. Perhaps that's the way of thinking what's being measured.
Yeah.
Right. So the spring will be extended, and therefore it'll measure that as a acceleration to the right. So it will. So if we so the mass is being accelerated to the right, the car's being accelerated to the right, and we take extension of spring to mean accelerating to the right.
Yes.
Now, similarly, if you turn that round and it's a gravity thing, if you turn it,
so hang on, this spring is now extended.
Turn it 90 degrees counterclockwise.
This whole thing. This thing.
Right. So all you're doing is you're just demonstrating how you are confusing the way accelerometers work, because indeed in the case of the turning this around the side, the mass will move rather than the spring, and it will compress. But nonetheless, the force vector is in the same. It's going down. The mass is being accelerated down, but because gravity works in a special way.
Which mass is being accelerated down?
Sorry.
Which mass is being accelerated down?
The mass inside the accelerometer is being, so it will compress. So it might show something going up. So, but that's because gravity is very special. It acts on all. See, the way the car behaves, the car moves, and then the only way it can exert a force on the accelerometer is by exerting on the body of the accelerometer. But the way gravity works is it acts on the mass, and so that inverts the situation, because gravity is special and accelerating the car is different from accelerating.
Yeah.
Right, so therefore, but nonetheless, the force on the inertial mass is down. But the accelerometer will measure in a different way. It might show an upwards thing, but that's because that's the way gravity works is different from the way being in a car works. Nonetheless, the gravitational force vector is down and it accelerates in the direction of the force. So you're wrong to say the gravitational vector.
Hang on. Can I ask
the accelerometer will show the opposite.
I applaud your Newtonian understanding of the world.
So can I ask my question? Is this not all rising upwards? Is this not trying to still resist in the same way, Rumpus?
No,
is not everything expanding upwards around it, and this is trying to resist it?
No. That's the point about gravity. It's special. It doesn't try and resist it. It's actually part of the force that's doing the pulling. So, I want to explain it to you. Yes, so it's very different. The gravity is very special, and it acts on all the component constituents of the mass, the blue mass. But when you're accelerating in a car, it exerts the pressure on the spring and the body outside the inertial mass. So they're two very different things.
I love the fact that you use the word special, because just a little while ago, my second point was that in Newtonian physics and Cartesian space-time, that is resolved by saying that the force
Special
is acting
pleading.
downwards, but there is a case of special pleading that this force is different than all the other forces because it acts on mass. So we are in complete accord there. If we're talking about Newtonian physics and Newtonian explanation of gravity, you are completely right. Satisfied?
Well, let's just instead of you picking on the inertial reference frame,
So hang on. For those of us who've got slower minds, which I am one,
okay.
In the car, we're moving along, and as I say, we're moving the box and everything with it when it was on sideways, right? And this is resisting it. So we're moving the box, this is resisting it, and we're seeing the force going in whichever direction it happens to be because we're going forwards, right? Now we're in gravity. We've turned this round 90 degrees.
Yeah.
And
now it's the force is coming from
is moving upwards.
The different thing is, Toady, is the blue thing's doing the forcing. The blue thing is the thing that is.
Is it though?
Well, actually, of course, if you drop everything together, if you drop it all together, it will show 0 because it acts on the box as well. So
yes.
But hang on, I'm not dropping it. Let's just say, by the way,
and in Einsteinian physics, that is called the equivalence principle.
Indeed. So
hang on. What happens if it's just sitting on the Earth? Right, it's now sitting on this. It's basically a spring balance, isn't it? It's
right, exactly. So if it's just sitting there, then the mass is having a force exerted on it, but it's own. But then, and so is the box. But the box. But the thing is, the box is subjected to the opposite and equal reaction of the ground, and the mass is not. So the mass pushes down on the spring, compressing it, and the box pushes up. So that's very different to the case where in the car when it's accelerating, because there it's the box that's doing all the pushing and the mass is resisting. And here in this case, the mass is the one
the mass is doing the pushing. You're saying the box is just staying put.
Yeah, when it's being subject to a force, it's being subject to the force of the ground upwards, and but the blue thing is not being subjected to the box. The pushing up, it's only by the spring, so it's going to compress the spring with its gravitational attraction, and the box is going to push up, and that's why we feel weight. So, for instance, the fact that you're standing, when you stand and you feel your weight, it's not actually the acceleration of of gravity pulling you down. It's actually the force of the ground pushing you back up that you're feeling up through your legs. Because if we removed the ground and you were in free fall, you wouldn't feel anything at all. So it's the fact that
the force of everything moving upwards that I'm feeling then.
Yes. Well, yes, but of the thing around you. Yes, but of the ground. But you're still being pulled down. But the ground is pushing you back up. But you are being subjected to a force downwards.
Yes,
I like Barney's explanation because he says people fall, and then when you hit the ground, that's when Earth's doing it.
So the point is that the acceleration due to gravity is very definitely down and not up, as Barney's managed to convince Bob of. Very definitely down.
Really?
So
in Newtonian physics, in Cartesian space.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, that's the one we live in. Yeah, we live in this.
No, sorry, no.
Look,
I'm sorry, you cannot take something which has less predictive power and less explanatory power and supersede it over something that has more explanatory power and more predictive power. General relativity is actually the world we live in to the best of our knowledge over Newtonian physics.
But the reference frame we are measuring all this against is, say, the ground, and it's very definitely a vector going down.
And that's the issue. If you're measuring things from within the car, then when you push the accelerator, the whole universe moves backwards.
No, because gravity.
The car isn't accelerating, right? If you measure from within an accelerated frame of reference, you will see everything else that is stationary accelerate in the opposite direction.
Yes.
Yes.
So we weren't picking the reference frame of the car though. We're picking the reference frame of
the ground.
I mean, obviously you can pick it.
Yes, that's called general relativity. You can pick any frame of reference.
Right, but the one we pick when we talk about the force of gravity is the Earth. That's the one we pick on. So therefore, the force vector. Obviously, if we decide to pick on a reference frame that was, to pick on a reference frame that was falling, there would be no gravity.
Yes.
So you know,
wait. The frame of reference that gets picked in physics is the inertial frame of reference. It is not the ground, it is not the earth, it is the inertial frame of reference, the one in which there is no acceleration.
Well, that's not, well, I would argue if you did that, then you should say we should pick the frame. Things have no weight because the frame of reference we should be picked should be a falling frame of reference, falling at the speed of gravity.
Exactly.
Well, that's a absolutely useless frame of reference to pick. I mean, architects and things wouldn't have to build buildings with foundations then.
And then you have a contradiction, because both frames of reference, the Earth falling towards you and you falling towards the Earth, are both inertials for themselves. It is only when you come into contact that you find a measurable acceleration, which is on you proportional to the weight of the Earth, and on the Earth proportional to the weight of you, right? That's
Baldy, how are they both inertial? Could you explain? Because I keep getting, slow brain that I've got, like maybe some other people listening as well, possibly. Yeah, or maybe it's just me. Could you explain why they're inertial?
Yeah, we know. Stop labouring the point. Bloody hell. Just say you don't understand, you want a better explanation.
You'd lose everybody else.
I know, I agree with you. Just say you need to explain better. You don't need to spend hours saying how you may be the most stupid person. You don't need to say that. Just say it's not clear yet. That'll do.
Yeah.
You want a better explanation.
You don't stop, do you? You just keep going.
Can I jump in here real quick? So when you say an inertial frame of reference, does that also kind of give way to the observer as well? If you're looking at it from the outside, it's one thing, and looking at it from the inside?
I'm not sure what you're asking. Can you?
Well, I mean, when you say from a frame of reference, I imagine, if you're attempting to look at it and measure something from the outside or the inside, going with the theory of relativity. If you are measuring it from Earth, then you would start off with Newtonian almost. Am I right about that?
100%.
Not really. So the issue is curvature of space-time. The issue is the concept of space-time itself, right? The thing that is intuitive for us to think about, the easy way to think about things, is that space is made up of cubes, three-dimensional cubes, which are, if you pick your unit, let's say as meter, which are 1 by 1 by 1 meter long, and all of them are identical throughout all of space and time, right? Every straight line is always the shortest distance, and parallel lines are never intersect, right? That's Euclidean geometry, Cartesian space, and Newtonian physics. Einstein rubbished all of that. None of that holds up, right? What he has shown is that space-time is the proper measurement, not Cartesian space, but space and time as a four-dimensional entity, that entity is non-Euclidean, that it is curved, that two parallel lines can intersect and can diverge, and even though that the straight line is not necessarily the shortest distance, that the shortest distance is the distance in which you do not have to apply any forces and any acceleration to the body. So the shortest distance, the path of least action in an orbit is the orbit, right? Even though it goes in a circular motion from a Euclidean perspective or from a Cartesian point of reference, right? There are no forces being applied. You don't need to expend any energy. You don't need to do anything, and there is no tool that can that you can use to measure it with, and it fits with the mass and the explanation of Einsteinian general relativity as description of where we live.
Are there
And
any
explains that's what? Sorry.
Are there any examples? I'm asking. So you said he showed maybe that parallel lines even diverge, yeah, or converge and then diverge and so forth. Are there any examples of that way of, rather than just being a theoretical construct, are there any actual examples where a straight line isn't maybe the shortest distance between 2 points or the lines diverge? I'm just looking for some practical examples of that view of space. Because I understood perfectly your idea of meter blocks all through the universe. I get that. That's Euclidean. Very easy to visualize. I can't quite visualize the Einsteinian one. That's why I'm wondering if there's any examples.
So a practical example is trying to, like, in orbit, inside the Earth's gravitational field, try to move at a Euclidean straight line. Right? You will need to expend so much energy and create so much force to maintain that line that it is obviously wrong. Right? The path of least action with least energy expended is the orbit between those lines.
All right, so not on the surface of the Earth, but if we're just out in space where the ISS is that what you're saying?
Yeah, for example. Yes.
Yep.
I've got to address something that Charlie said in the chat. He said, I don't recall saying gravity has a speed in our chat. I don't remember saying, but if I did, gravity does have a speed. It's the speed of light, so he's wrong.
It's just under the speed of light. It's not faster.
I didn't say it was faster.
What?
Yeah, you did.
No, it is exactly the speed of light.
I thought it was a little under it.
Is it? Is it exactly?
It's exactly.
Yes. It is actually more exactly the speed of light than the speed of light.
Exactly the speed of light. That's amazing. So hang on, the speed of light and gravity are the same speed.
The speed which the gravitational force, or whatever you want to call it, travels is at the speed of light.
If something can't grab you faster than you can see it grabbing you, as it were.
Yeah. So the speed of light is the propagation of causality, literally causality through space-time.
Is that the case? Is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
So
I thought about that before. Okay.
Yes. So for light, the measurable speed of light will always be just slightly under, because we cannot achieve perfect vacuum, right? Because there will always be some particles there in the vicinity, in the pathway of that light beam, which will cause refraction, which is just slowing down of light.
Okay, but
even in interstellar space, there are atoms thrown out here, there, and faint plasma, right? Which will slow down that light. Gravity is not affected by that.
But you're saying that there couldn't be the edge of the universe where we're expanding into the new edge of the universe that hasn't been expanded into yet, where it gets there faster than light actually gets there. There's no edge where, causality could get there faster than light could. Why does light always have to be there? Is that because a particle has always got light associated with it? But why is it always light there? Could we not have a situation where there's no photons at all?
No.
Is that the answer? That there could never be no photons?
What would there be?
No, I don't think that's true.
Right. So that's what I'm asking the question. I mean, it's an interesting question, right? At the edge of space where it's expanding. Yeah, I presume, right? We're getting into new nothing.
Well, it's expanding everywhere uniformly, actually.
Yes, there is. So as far as we know, there is no edge of space.
We are just not sure what's on the outside.
There's an observable limit. There's an observable limit from what we can see, and obviously, because it's and obviously we see into the past as we see further, so that we can see 13.6 billion years. But what we're looking at is obviously 13.6 billion years old and has been expanding further out. So it's not actually where we see it. So the universe is actually quite a lot bigger now than the observable universe that we can see. And in fact, I believe that the things that are at 13.6 billion as we perceive them now, I believe are now moving further away from us at a speed greater than the speed of light. Not because because space is expanding at that speed, not because they're traveling relative to space at that speed.
Oh, right. So they're not going faster, but space itself is expanding. I just
Exactly.
find
But from our point of view, it looks the same thing. If space,
maybe it's a red herring. I've come up with the edge of space. All right, let's ignore that. Let's think of a more mundane situation. You're saying that gravity will always travel at the same speed as the speed of light, which means light always has to be there. Could there not be a situation where there's gravity and no light?
Light, as I said, light, wherever there is matter, light moves slightly slower than the speed of light.
It doesn't have to be light around Toady for there to be gravity.
That's the question I'm asking. I want to just get
You can have gravity without light.
Would an example be better? The best example? Okay, if the sun disappeared, right?
8 minutes.
Thank you, Rumpus. It takes 8 minutes for your eyes to then lose the sun, because then that's when that's when the sun rays get here. Well, it would also take 8 minutes. I think it's like 23 seconds or something like that, or 23 hundredths of a second. I don't know, something like that, something real close. But it would take that same amount of time for Earth to then lose the orbit that it had around the sun. It would then take off into space.
Yeah, but that's a highly hypothetical scenario. As far as we know, mass is indestructible, or that portion of mass which causes the distortion is indestructible. You cannot just make the sun go away.
Yeah.
You cannot just make it disappear.
What worries me is this: why should it seem very, very odd to me that gravity's speed, the speed of gravity, should be the same as the speed of light? It seems such a strange coincidental
It's not a coincidence.
thing.
They're the same cause.
Yeah.
So the same thing causes both.
Which is what?
Well, in the case, fundamentally, it's as Barney says, the causality limit. It's the limit of things are caused to do things, and there's a universal speed limit for. Well, I suppose there isn't. There's this stupid bloody Schrodinger wave function, which apparently travels infinitely quickly. So that's which is another confusing issue.
Okay, they know that because of the speed, the gravitational waves. It says by comparing the existing timing of gravitational waves as they hit different observatories across the globe, researchers can have a good idea of the wave's overall speed.
Yeah, the maths just says there's a universal cause for light being at speed it is and for gravity to be speed. It's not like throwing a dice and they just both happen to end up the same number. There's
there is a limit to the speed at which things can happen.
Correct.
Yes. It just happens that light is limited and so is gravity by it.
Correct.
Not that light and gravity are related in any way. They're just both limited by this.
They're related by
causality.
This construction of the universe just limits
by physical causality. Yes.
Right, but going back to your flipping inertial reference frame, the point is, Barney, everything is in its own inertial reference frame. So while you're picking on the pen,
no, not everything is. Right? When you are in a car and that car is accelerating, you are in an accelerated frame of reference if you measure things from the car.
But you could pick...
If you're on a carousel, you are in a rotating frame of reference if you're measuring things from the carousel.
I suppose rotating things, are different. You could pick a reference frame in which you could decide to pick a reference frame that was rotating, and then it would cease. It would then I'm sure you could pick. If you decide to pick on a reference frame, I'm sure you could make that.
That is literally what general relativity is. It is a mathematical tool that lets you transform from any frame of reference and any metric to any other frame of reference and any other metric. Right? From radial measurements to Cartesian measurements to curved space-time to whichever frame of reference or metric you choose to take. Right? But one of those fits the observed universe the best. And one of those is universal to all of the observers everywhere, no matter in which gravitational field they are and which speed they're moving in, right? And
but you're claiming the pen is special when it's dropped or something. You're claiming that's the special reference frame. You're claiming that's
no.
the frame you should be measuring.
No,
Barney,
no,
that
no,
actually
no.
answered my question about the observer. Because that's what I was thinking was if you know, you on Earth using Einstein, that works. But if you want to go further, then you would go with Einstein. Wait, I said that wrong. Newtonian for the Earth, and then if you wanted to go further, you would or any other frame of reference, you would use Einstein. Correct?
Well, it depends on how finely you want to measure, like with what precision. Because even on Earth, Einstein will break down if you get too precise. If your measurement is too accurate. Right? Because if you walk up a hill, you will be in a different you will be in a different gravitational field and moving at a different speed due to rotation, right? And
Gotcha.
And in Newtonian physics, there is no difference between those. And in Einsteinian physics, general relativity lets you fine tune. Like they're in Newtonian physics, they are very, 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 very similar. In reality, they are very, very, very similar. And Newtonian physics will say that they are identical, and it won't be wrong as long as you don't look too carefully. Right? But if you look too carefully, if you refine your measurement to such a degree, then like if you go into billionths of a second, then you can measure the time dilation at ground level versus, I don't know, 10 meters up.
I see. So yeah, and that's kind of there's also the kind of it's kind of like the error bar that we have for measuring things. You know, using Newtonian at that point.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Perfect.
Like under Newtonian, we say those are the same, and never mind the minor difference that we cannot even measure. Under Einsteinian, there is a difference, and we have measured it.
So actually, going back to Toadie's question about the sun. So if the sun did go out, wouldn't that change the mass of the sun? Because because of the gases released and everything, it would change the mass of the sun. So it would change the.
When he said going, he's removing it completely. I think he wasn't thinking of going out and making it dark.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well,
it just if it
went out, and not just remove it entirely. If it went out, wouldn't that change how the rotation around it would happen with the Earth and everything else?
No, not if the mass doesn't change.
But wouldn't releasing the energy? But wouldn't releasing the energy change the mass of it?
Black hole. Do you think if the sun was a black hole with the same mass as the sun, do you think our orbit would change?
I'm not sure.
Nope. Outside the Schwarzschild radius, you would notice no difference.
Except to be a bit darker.
Yeah. There would be a minute change after a couple of days. If the sun just went out, if it stopped fusing and collapsed into a cool ball somehow, you would lose the off-gassing of the sun, the solar wind, which is slightly pushing away from us. So you would measure a fractionally very, very marginal increase in the force towards the sun.
But also it wouldn't be declining. I mean, obviously the sun is losing mass, which actually means that its attraction to the Earth is actually changing. So from that point of view, that would change.
Yeah,
that's what I was saying. Yeah, so it would change at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's in other words, instead of being constant, the sun is becoming less and less massive over time, and therefore that's affecting us in that degree. If you looked at the gravitational force from the sun, it would be going down. If it was a black hole and stopped doing that, then it would remain constant.
So that would be a change in the normal force, but that wouldn't be a change in the force of gravity.
No, I didn't think it would be a change in the force of gravity, just in our because of the change of mass. I figured it would change.
There is no change in mass.
Well, if it is releasing gases and things like that, there would be a change.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, there is no change in mass between the sun as it is right now and the sun as it is right now if it were turned off.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Well, actually, there is, because something that has more energy has more mass. So, in other words, if we turned the sun into something colder, it would have less energy, and following Einstein's rule, it would actually become lighter, as in have to be less massive.
Well, that depends. So it's the same issue as with making the sun just completely disappear, right? It depends on how you shut it down, right? If we're talking about something that might be physically possible, such as collapsing it to a black hole, or just fusing all of the mass in it into iron and making a huge ball of iron, right? You wouldn't lose any energy. All of that energy would need to also be congealed, or it would need to be released, in which case you would have a huge explosion.
Yes, that's right. If the energy, so if the energy is not is contained, in other words, if it's an isolated system, then and its energy was not allowed to dissipate in some way, then yes, it would preserve the same mass. But if its energy was some way, if you were to remove the heat from it in the sense of, you slow down all its atoms, you've effectively moved some of energy from it, then it would actually become less massive.
On a slightly related note, like I'm having a blast these past few days. Like there was a paper released a couple of weeks ago about the possibility of Planet 9 being a black hole, some observations confirming that, and my news feed has been inundated with news articles about there is potentially a black hole in our neighborhood. The Earth is doomed. Like, no, it isn't. We're like, if that's the kind of threat you're perceiving as doomed, then Jupiter, who is much heavier than that black hole and much closer than that black hole, is much more of a danger than that black hole.
Oh, I thought its mass. I couldn't remember what its mass was supposed to be. I thought it wasn't. I thought it was supposed to be. Okay, I couldn't remember what its mass was. I didn't realize it was that light. This thing out there. It's a long way away.
It's a long way away. It's supposed to be a primordial black hole, so it should be something on the scale of being as large as a ping pong ball and weighing as much as Neptune or Uranus or something like that.
Right. Okay. I can remember the exact line.
So I think this kind of goes back to the conversation where they were talking about 2 stars in per system. Would that be the other star that had collapsed?
No. So if the theory is correct, you cannot get such a small black hole from collapsing stars. For a star to collapse into a black hole, it needs to be something like 30 times, or no, 3 times as big as the sun, at least. That's the lower boundary. And when it collapses into a black hole that has 1.5 solar mass or something like that, and everything else gets expelled. To have a black hole this small and this light, it would have to be a primordial black hole, a black hole which was created during the Big Bang as a small black hole due to the density of stuff in literally during the Big Bang. And it would have been evaporating through Hawking radiation for 14 billion years. And the smaller they are, the faster they evaporate.
Yes.
Well, I mean, could it have been possible for it to have been larger and then, basically almost at the very beginning, turned into a black hole, and just over time it's become smaller?
No,
Barney.
because not enough time has passed for such a large black hole to. So the black holes give off Hawking radiation in the frequency which is proportional to their radius, right? So very large black holes give off very, very long wavelength Hawking radiation, which means they give off very, very, very little energy. So the bigger they are, the weaker the radiation is, and the longer it takes them. When you get to smaller and smaller sizes, right? A black hole in nanometer spectra, in nanometer radius, would evaporate almost immediately. It would evaporate in at least partially invisible light, right? And it would create a huge explosion because that wavelength carries much, much more energy than the longer wavelengths. Right?
So basically, you can't have big black holes becoming small black holes. Once they're big, they tend to remain big.
It just takes them ridiculous amounts of time to become
longer than
smaller,
the age of
right?
the universe. Yeah,
much longer.
Yeah. Right. So once you've got a big black hole, you're stuck with it.
Gotcha. It's kind of funny, just that saying. If you got a big black hole, you're stuck with it.
Well, I'm glad
for what
right.
was it? 10 to the 50th years, something like that. I think that the heat death by evaporation is something like 10 to the 50th or 10 to the 100th years until the last biggest black holes completely evaporate through Hawking radiation.
Well, thanks. Now I'm going to have to start looking them up again.
Getting back to this bloody gravity vector.
Go ahead.
Right. What is your argument against picking the pen rather than the Earth for the reference frame for this? For the center of the Earth versus the center of the pen?
So both of those systems are inertial systems. If you look at either of them, right?
Right. Yeah. That's why I'm.
And the only reason why they're coming together under Einsteinian physics is the curvature of space-time.
Space-time, yes.
Right? Okay, so there is no force between them.
Right, so you're saying there is no vector. Right, so you're saying there is no vector between them at all. Not
until
one direction. There's none.
Yeah, wait.
Right, well, so in other words, you can't make a case then for saying it's up.
Until they collide, at which point they start pushing each other apart proportional to their mass.
Okay, so let's
when you're standing still on the Earth is accelerating you upwards through electromagnetic repulsive force.
Yeah. Right, but the point is, you claim there is the force vector is up for a pen that's falling before it hits the ground.
No.
I'm saying
for a falling pen, there is no force vector. There is.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Well, okay. If that's your conclusion, I think I'm happy that I'm right completely. if that's what you wish to offer, but you got Bob, saying there's a force vector upwards, and that's wrong.
When you measure the acceleration on the
measuring
surface,
that's another issue. That's another issue completely, how you measure things. We're talking about...
No, it's the same. It's the same thing.
No, we get these equal and opposite reactions and how you decide what a compressing of a spring inside your accelerometer is doing or something. You're getting confused with these bloody accelerometer measurement schemes. And instead of focusing on the bloody movement of the thing in question. And if you're saying now that the force vector is non-existent between the two, and there is... So Bob is... Which is... clearly useless, of no utility at all.
What do you mean of no utility at all?
Well,
You're
okay,
denying-
perhaps not. Okay, that's okay. That's probably going a bit. Okay, that's going a bit far. It's of no utility to people designing things and watching pens. So I'm gonna. So you're. So I'm afraid I'm going to stick with the fact you're wrong, and that there's not a force vector going upwards as Bob. I don't know whether how accurately that's reflected what you said, but you seem to be saying it was a. You were saying that You were saying there was a vector upwards from.
Yes,
for a
and I'm
pen.
still saying it. I think the
Before
confusion.
collision. Before
Wait.
collision.
No, before collision there are no forces.
Right. Okay. Well, there we go then. I'll leave it at that. I'll rest
And
my
that's-
case, my lord.
Yes, and that's the part where I agree with Riley that gravity is not a force.
Bloody well is. It manifests itself as a force in our bloody reference frame. Right. So there we go.
Yeah,
So
it does.
we need to get. So you need to get onto Bob and say stop being silly about having force vectors going upwards and the gravity force vector going upwards.
No.
And you've got him going bonkers with that now. God.
So the thing why I think you're wrong is because you are measuring from an accelerated frame of reference on the Earth's surface, right? You are measuring the acceleration of a falling body, even though you're the one accelerating upwards to it. Why? How do I know that? Again, measurement. You measure it when you're standing on the ground. You don't measure it when you're falling down. How is that explained? General theory of relativity. Curved space-time will bring parallel lines to intersect. When they intersect, then and only then will you measure a force, right? There is no method, no tool, no way, anything that you can use to measure acceleration or force in any other set of circumstances will not work on gravity. Until you're standing still. And then suddenly you will measure a 9.81 meters per second squared acceleration upwards. And general theory of relativity explains why. So now there is one point further that needs to be said. Like, first point is there is a force because those things attract. Then Einstein says, well, that's not a force. Those things don't attract. They're just moving in their inertial, by their inertial paths, by their geodesics, and those geodesics intersect inevitably if they have mass, right?
Yes.
Now, how it is a force in Einsteinian way of looking at things, it is an interaction between mass and space-time. It is a force because mass, the presence of mass bends space-time, which then causes the geodesics to intersect.
Yes.
Right? It is not an attractive force between mass and mass. It is a force between mass and space-time.
Yes.
Mass tells space how to curve, and space tells mass how to move.
Yes, I even knew that. I can't remember who was the scientist who said that. I can't remember his name now. Is it
Einstein.
No, he didn't say that. That's not that. Einstein did not use that. He did not create that
Really?
phrase. Yeah,
I could be wrong.
yeah. It was can't remember his stupid name now. It wasn't Einstein. Well, if you wish to have, your answer is that there is no force acting on something that is falling, and therefore there is no force vector, then okay, I'll let you stick with that. Meanwhile, the rest of the sensible world will have the pen being accelerated to the center of the Earth, and in any reference frame, such as the center of the ecliptic or the sun, in our 3D world, we'll see that same thing happening. And
yes, in a 3D, in a Cartesian 3D world, yes, you're right. In Newtonian physics, yes, you're right. Right?
Yeah.
Einstein just showed that is wrong. That's not how the universe works.
If you want to build a building based upon that principle, there's no force acting downwards, then yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. It's I say almost of no practical utility, that way of looking at it.
It is completely identical, except that it works always and everywhere. The same building would be built, the same stresses would be applied, the same, like, That is the beauty of Einstein's physics. He didn't.
Well, you've got Bob drawing a bloody force acceleration due to gravity vector on his pen going upwards, even as it's falling.
Yes, because he had to say that the car is accelerating backwards while he was pushing the accelerator forwards.
No, I'm just saying dropping a pen in his car.
Just to create the equivalence principle.
Yeah, well,
and the equivalence principle works the other way around.
Yeah, well, I'm not worried about accelerating his car.
Standing on the surface of the Earth, when you see the effect of gravity, when you see the density column and pendulums and level water and all of that, that works only when you're on the surface of Earth. None of it works when you're in free fall. So why would I be talking about free fall? And when you're standing on the Earth, the direction of acceleration is upwards.
Yeah,
and the direction of
Wheeler, I think it was. Yeah, sorry, Karen. Yes, I do not think that's a use. Sorry, I can't tell you.
Wheeler, you said, as in delayed choice? Wheeler's delayed choice?
Yeah, Wheeler. Yeah, I think Wheeler was the gravitation. That's what Charlie's saying. I vaguely recall it was Wheeler. Space tells matter how to move, and space tells matter how to curve, whatever. Yep. Yeah, so I would say, now, I would argue that's an almost useless model you've got there, Barney. Well, of little utility to the world as we're in, even if according to Einstein, there is it's all to do with geodesics and following them, and inertial masses doing their thing, and as you saying, coming together and.
So, in terms of usefulness, I will reiterate this: they are identical, right? That the Einsteinian is far more complex and far harder to grasp and far harder to do the maths in, which is why we use Newtonian. But if we're talking about which one of those is real, or which one of those is a better candidate to be real, which one of those coincides with reality and known facts more.
Well,
right?
you got Bob to show that there was a gravitational vector going upwards, which is very definitely wrong on any means.
No, it's not.
Tease it for a falling pen. That is absolutely wrong.
For a falling pen, there is no gravitational force, and there is no.
Yes. And it's got to get from its falling state to the ground. So that is absolutely wrong.
And what worries me more is this is quite an abstruse. Okay, hang on. It's quite an abstruse argument. Riley will have a field day with it. That's the problem. Yeah, even they argue amongst themselves. They can't even agree on their own science and which direction it goes in, won't it?
I know, and that's the for me that's the fun part, right? That I don't mind him being
for those of us
about
at the
it.
risk of Rumpus shouting at me that are simpler. We struggle with it anyway, trying to hold the argument, right? Because it's a difficult argument, isn't it? So
I didn't say you're wrong to ask for a simple argument, Toady. I just said you're spending ages going on about how you may understand, other people might not. There might be someone next door who doesn't understand, or someone's dog who doesn't understand it. It's not required. You can just say, I need a simpler explanation. That's all I'm saying, except for being so verbose about it, and then saying how I'm trying to sort of false humility. Just get on and say, I don't understand and want more better explanation.
It's genuine humility. I'm just trying to show that other people may also.
I agree with you. Yes, well, we know this. We don't understand it, so I think Barney and I both appreciate. I don't understand it. I don't know what Barney may claim, but we're certainly familiar with other people.
Hey guys, just want to give you guys a 15-minute warning.
Right.
Okay. So, from a strategical point of view, in flat Earth, globe Earth debate, from a political standpoint, this is a horrible thing to be saying, right?
You shot us in the foot, Barney.
Yeah, because they will abuse
because you're a very naughty man.
Because they will be abusing the living shit out of this conversation for ages. That's fine.
Probably don't watch Sean's channel, so they won't pick it up.
From a practical point of view, like what is it that is simple and effective and will work? I also agree with Rumpus, right? That's why NASA does use Newtonian physics for orbital mechanics beyond Mercury's orbit, right? However, if we're talking about reality, if we're talking about truth, if we're talking about what we know of the world, Einstein beats Newton. Einstein, like the argument, this is useless, this is a useless model, that's rubbish. It is completely equivalent to Newton in every way and every place where Newton is useful, and works everywhere that Newton doesn't, right?
You could not use it to do useful things.
You could use it to, you could use it, it would take longer, it would be harder, right? But you do everything exactly the same.
Could you use it though?
For significantly weak enough gravitational fields and for significantly small relative speeds.
Okay,
right?
so simple question.
Einstein and Newton are almost identical.
Simple question.
Go ahead.
Is it possible then? Because I was always told that it's very hard to solve. Yeah, multi-body problems. So when you've got the two bodies moving towards each other, or one moving towards one and one moving towards the other, I think is the way it was described. Does that not make it much harder to do the calculation?
It's already impossible. If you have three-body, you can't solve a three-body problem with any bloody system, just about.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't. Not
Come on, Laplace solved the three-body problem.
No, it's 2.5. That's 2.5 bodies.
Oh, okay. That's
Where he
a
made
completely
one
different.
so light.
That's a completely different conversation. 10 minutes to the end of the show.
Okay, so it's another one for another time. My point being, does it not make it very, very difficult though? Because both of those bodies, you're making it much harder than it needs to be. I suppose would be my
correct.
Yes, and in the same sense that.
And we can get the same answer for most things we need using Newton on the Earth.
Yes. Newton is practical. And Newton and Einstein agree wherever Newton is correct, right? Within limits which are so small as to be insignificant.
There's no point to using Einstein. It's not going to give me anything much better for most of the things where I'm going to be using Newton anyway.
Yes. Until you get into trouble with things like GPS. Until you get to precise enough measurements, or you get into extreme enough regimes, where Newton will fall apart, and Einstein, which agrees with Newton in what we would call normal regimes, will keep working. And right?
So the GPS, when I was working with satellites, they always, GPS, in fact, actually, to be specific, it was GPS. They explained to me it was to do with the timing was the problem. It wasn't necessarily to do with the orbits. It was to do with the time. There was some time function that was the reason it went wrong. Is that correct or not?
The curvature of space-time is the thing that causes gravity is much more the curvature of time than the curvature of space. In a gravitational field, time gets dilated by gravity itself, right? And by the presence of nearby mass, and that curvature of time is what causes gravity. I'll actually have to build a video. So, but that curvature of time also causes clocks to disagree if they're
GPS, which is why they were out by the amount they were. Got it. Okay.
GPS is affected by two separate effects of time dilation. One is by speed, which makes its clock tick faster, and the other is by being further away from the center of the gravitational field, from the terrestrial clock, which makes it tick slower. And when you combine those, you find that there is still a discrepancy, that those two clocks will not keep same time.
I'm going to go through those again slowly. So one is it goes faster.
Yes, it is moving. It is moving. It is moving relative to you, right? So you will see its clock tick slower through time dilation. If something is moving relative to you, you will see its clock tick slower.
Oh, and of course it's further from the gravitational center.
And it's further from the gravitational field, which makes it
faster.
Faster.
There are two
faster,
effects.
which
Yeah, there's
makes
two effects, and they're both in the
which
different
makes its
directions.
clock tick
Yes.
faster. When you combine those two effects, the effect is smaller than either of those together, but it's still different from like they don't cancel each other exactly, and you need to account for that difference, or your GPS will drift off position.
Yeah. So there are two effects: special relativity and general relativity, fighting one another for an orbiting satellite, both acting in, as you said, totally in the opposite direction. Charlie's pointed out in the chat that although I said you can't solve, when I said you couldn't solve for a three-body problem, you can't have an analytical mathematical solution, but obviously you can do anything with numerical analysis, and you can say this is doing that and doing a you can shove in, you can do everything if you're prepared to go and do numbers on things and just take everything in turn, but you can't come up with a solution, a mathematical, an algebraic or closed solution for saying what will happen. You have to do it. You have to go through each stage, saying what was this body doing on this body, what is that body doing on that body, okay, then I'll move this body, and then I'll have to think about this other body and move that body, and then do it sort of incrementally, and then eventually you get to so far. And this is, in fact, this very reason they don't even know whether the solar system.
No, come on, that's rubbish. So yes, that again is true under Newtonian physics, but there are other under Newtonian mechanics, but there are other classical systems of mechanics which solve this perfectly, such as the Lagrangian, there are some Lagrangian mechanics, right? Lagrangian mechanics are the paths of least action, and those work for multiple those will give you multiple body solutions without the incremental process. You will simply get.
Can there be other
curve.
forms of mechanics?
And that is how the Lagrange points were discovered. And that's why they're called that, because they come out of Lagrangian mechanics for orbital bodies.
So are you saying for an arbitrary three-body problem you can use Lagrangian mechanics to model what they're up to, or they get up to?
You can use Lagrangian. I'm not sure, but I think you can also use Hamiltonian mechanics.
Yes, I was talking about Hamiltonian.
And you can definitely use general relativity.
Well, not only for three-body problems, for five-body problems, or 50-body problems.
For n-body problems.
N-body, yeah, exactly.
Using Hamiltonian or...
and you can brute force it with Newtonian by simply using a sufficiently strong computer, which is probably your phone, to make the increments in the integral small enough so that you don't come up with problems. But you can also work around it through Laplacian perturbation, right?
Yeah, there are other tricks. Yeah, there are other tricks. Yeah. So, but Blue, what mathematical approach were you suggesting in your multi-body problem to it?
Lagrangian is what I was sitting here
Lagrangian.
thinking about. Yeah.
And that gives you the full orbits, does it? I can't remember whether that.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't remember. I got a book on orbital mechanics. I keep on meaning to go back to. I couldn't remember whether it actually gives you the full info on where things actually go, or whether it's just because they're just revolving around potential, aren't they? With the Lagrangian things, I didn't realize. I couldn't remember whether that actually gave you.
Yes, but each of those increases in mathematical complexity, right? Newton, to create his solution, he had to invent a new kind of mathematics from algebra, which was calculus, right? Lagrangian and Hamiltonian are linear algebra. They're matrices, and Einstein uses Lorentzian, tensors, right?
Yeah.
And to solve a four-dimensional problem with tensors, you need a 10-dimensional tensor, right? So things explode in complexity really, really fast, and you kind of to solve the problem, you kind of need a supercomputer, but to understand the problem, you don't.
So when you were talking about sort of 50 body problems, those are 50 massive ones. You're not talking about the Laplacian 2.5 body problem, are you? You're not saying 50 small.
No. I'm saying any. I'm saying
Blue, actually. Sorry, I was rejecting that Blue because he said 50 body problem. Are you saying that for 50 large, massive bodies, you can model that with Lagrangian things?
I believe so.
Are you sure you're not doing two large bodies and and any number of others assumed, like the half body problem where they're so small they don't affect what the other two are doing, the big two jobs are doing?
I think you can do n-body problems with it, can't you, Barney?
With massive, 50 massive n-body problems.
You can simulate and solve n-body problems using Newtonian physics.
With massive n-body, not just fit 48
massive. If you take I've written simulations like that, for fuck's sakes, using Newtonian physics, using algebraic.
Oh, yeah, Newtonian, yeah. I'm not disputing the Newtonian jobs, but using Lagrangian.
Yes. So what Newtonian, like the limit of Newtonian is that you have to do it step by step, and you have to make your steps small enough so that you don't get aberrations and right. We can do that physically with computers, right? It was a chore in Newton's time because he would have to calculate it by hand.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Right? There's no analytical solution. You have to do it by banging away at each increments.
Lagrangian doesn't deal with increments; it deals with paths.
Indeed, exactly.
Yes.
But you seem to be suggesting that was an alternative to the Newtonian solution, and I'm just a bit concerned. Well, I don't know whether. Blue seemed to be suggesting that you could have 50 large, massive bodies and solve it with a Lagrangian.
Yes, and you calculate the path of least action. And you get an orbit, and you get all the points on that orbit for n bodies, right? You don't get an elliptical orbit. I don't mean an elliptical orbit or a stable orbit. You get a pathway, you get a curve, which is not calculated point by point, which is given by a function of the forces within.
But then everything's going to change. This is a dynamic system, so
yes, yes.
I'm a little bit skeptical about that, but okay, I think you're going to end up. I think it can't model. Otherwise, we wouldn't have Laplacian 2.5. Otherwise, no, this can't be right. This can't be right. It's only in the 2.5 body case that this works. I don't think this is right. I'm sorry.
Laplacian solution back in Napoleon's time, right?
Yeah, but I think everybody's advanced on this. I think I've been reading about body problems, and they're still stuck on 2.5.
Lagrangians and Hamiltonians are powerful enough that you can use them in quantum physics where you do not have defined positions or momenta, right? With Heisenberg uncertainty, you can use a Hamiltonian operator or a Laplacian path of least action to calculate the position, right? Yes. So that's a way more complex problem than having several rigid bodies in classical physics.
Yes, but I don't think they can solve those either.
And it's been done way before the invention of the computer. That was like the turn of the century of the last century, right? Yeah. That's what they used.
Okay, I'm not happy, but oh well. I'm sure this 2.5 body problem is still the limit on, but I'll have to go.
Yeah, and I look forward to you coming back and kicking my butt with it if I'm wrong.
I wouldn't want to kick your bottom, Barney. I will kick your bottom over this bloody direction of the gravity vector, though. I'm going to kick you over that one with your basic solution is that there's no vector at all unless you're actually stopped.
Yes,
I'm afraid it's no utility.
All utility. Same utility as Newtonian. It gives you the same solution. Yeah, but it's only when you turn to the Newtonian,
you have to reduce it to the Newtonian situation and then we get a nice down vector while it's in mid-fall towards the center of the Earth.
You don't have to reduce it to Newtonian. Einsteinian will give you the same description of reality under those conditions that you're asking for, right?
Well, yeah, but with no force vector, so you're eliminating this bloody force vector completely.
Yes. That force vector is substituted by the curvature of space-time.
Yeah, I don't think that's a useful thing to do.
It's not practical. Like it's not the easiest solution. That much I've given you already, right? It is an overly complicated solution, but it works. It describes reality better. It works in more situations. It works.
It doesn't work at all.
It works in all of the situations that Newtonian works in exactly the same way as Newtonian does, and then continues working when Newtonian breaks down. I cannot stress that hard enough.
Okay, but the point is, you're eliminating the vector completely.
Einstein didn't nix Newton. Einstein didn't say, "Oh, gravity actually works in a completely different direction." He resolved the special pleading required for Newton. He made the same predictions, same explanations, same predictions, same measurements, everything covered the same way as Newton, and then beyond. So when you say it's not practically useful or cannot model reality, or if you built a building using Einsteinian physics, it would work in the exact same way as if you did it with Newtonian. You would just need to do harder math.
Yeah, but the point is, you would like to eliminate any vector at all between the pen and the Earth as it's falling.
Yes.
And that's, so I think that's...
Well, not any vector at all.
Not any vector. Okay, that'd be,
there is a vector in the curvature of space-time, right? There is a gradient there. There is a change of distance there. Right?
God knows what direction that's got. Yes, okay, I don't want to think about that.
That direction is 4-dimensional, and
I don't want to think about that. Right, so the point is, you're trying to eliminate the vector completely because you're trying to say that gravity is not a force. Okay, but that's rather different from what...
It is not a force between those two bodies.
Yes, we know that. Yes, it's not a force between masses. Yes, just in case. Yes, okay, it's worth reiterating, I suppose, to people who are not. Yeah, even Newton wasn't sure. He just didn't say what was actually interacting with what. He just knew that the law of gravity was that there appeared to be a force between what was actually happening, what the force was between what he decided not to declare upon. And Einstein's obviously shown that it's not the masses between the force between space-time and the masses. Yeah, okay, yeah, we're happy with that. But
Newton's conclusion was it's God.
It's just what it is. Yes,
and it wouldn't work for three bodies. Therefore, God makes it work, right? So, and then when Laplace solved the three-body problem,
2.5 body problem,
allegedly he presented it to Napoleon, and Napoleon asked, where is God in your explanation? And Laplace famously said, "Sir, I did not need that hypothesis to solve the problem."
Yeah, indeed.
So with your pen that's falling towards Earth, there is no vector at all.
According to Barney.
Yeah, there is no force acting upon the pen, and there is no force acting upon the Earth. They are coming together because of the curvature of space-time, because their let's say parallel paths will cross.
Yeah, so Tony, if you want to use that to deploy that to people, I think a much better solution would be to put Barney in a white suit and hide him somewhere.
Yeah, I mean okay, yeah.
I'm sorry, general relativity is over 100 years old, right? It is time for us to start getting to grips with it 100 years later.
And we've been lied to, so,
Right? The fact that something is simple, the fact that something is easy to think about, that you can explain it in a couple of words of simple mathematics that can be explained to children.
I like that.
Yeah, that's all kudos. But if we're talking about reality, if we're talking about physics, if we're talking about how the universe works, if you rely only on Newton, you will get into trouble that you won't be able to get out of.
Hold on. Early on in this bloody conversation, we were discussing vectors and things and their direction for gravity.
Exactly.
And now you're saying there are none. So bloody hell, Barney.
Yeah, we started by discussing the accelerometer, didn't we? And the vector.
I have clarified that point during this conversation at least 5 different times. There is no vector while the object is in free fall. Once they collide, there is a measurable upwards acceleration from the electromagnetic repulsion of the atoms of the Earth, pushing aside the object that's quote unquote falling onto it, right? That's the explanation.
Why doesn't that work between the air?
Only measurable force. When you say that gravity is an acceleration.
It's not the only measurable force.
Wait,
no, hold on. You can't say that because we can measure a
yes,
force
I
using
can.
an accelerometer.
If you sorry, when you say that gravity has an acceleration of 9.81, depending on where you are, meters per second squared, that thing can be measured only by an accelerometer standing still on the surface of the Earth. There is no physical method of measuring that acceleration otherwise.
You mean if it was dropping?
Yeah, accelerometer shows zero. Just like if you're falling, little balls of what I mean. The ISS is being subject to gravity, but because it's falling, balls go into spheres and things, and they affect because there's no acceleration across them. Everything's being subject to the same acceleration. Therefore, it seems uniform and nothing's happening.
For any flat earthers listening, that is of course discounting for the effects of air friction, air resistance, blah, blah, blah. If you're falling towards the Earth, like if you're in free fall above the Earth and you reach terminal velocity, right? If you reach the maximum velocity you will have when the resistance of the air and your motion downwards, acceleration from the frame of reference of the surface of the Earth, when they cancel out, you will measure a 9.81 meters per second squared upwards again, right? Provided by the resistance of the air.
It all depends what your accelerometer decides to decide what.
The same thing that you use to measure the acceleration in a car.
Yeah. No, we established it's round the other way. Gravity works around the other way. We established that the mass is being accelerated, and the surrounding thing is the thing that's being held up, and then the mass, the blue thing, the blob that Tony had, would be trying to compress the spring, so it acts in the opposite direction. Whereas in a car, it's the body around it that's exerting the force. Whereas
I love that we established thing that you slipped in. You asserted.
Yes, but I thought we came to some sort of agreement about that. It's all to do with the body. Inside, the gravity is special because it acts on all particles of matter, and therefore the resistive force is on the outside, whereas in the case of with gravity, we've got we will do carry on.
Yeah, from Newtonian point of view, the charge of gravity is mass, and the charge of and the value of inertia is mass.
Yes.
So those two things cancel each other out, and no accelerometer. But that is the equivalence principle. If there is no physical difference, if there is no way to measure it, if there is nothing that you can do to discern.
But is that not just the case, Barney, that what's happening is that it's causing an acceleration, and therefore, just like in any inertial force, the mass is irrelevant. It's an acceleration that's being created, and that we just decide it's a force by multiplying it by the mass, and that's why they have to be the same.
In Newtonian physics and Cartesian space, yes. In 3D perfectly square space, yes.
Well, even in the Einsteinian thing, the result of the field equations is an acceleration, not a force, and that's why the inertial mass and the gravitational mass are the same.
No.
Don't the Einstein field equations resolve to an acceleration?
When you convert them to a frame of reference of the Earth, yes. Or when you convert them to the frame of reference of the falling object, then the Earth is falling towards it at that speed, right? That's what general relativity is. But there is no force, there is no acceleration on the bodies themselves. They are traveling along their inertial paths, and if you start them off right in a non-Euclidean space, so their paths will intersect.
True.
And before,
thanks, Sean. Gotta run. Sorry, guys. See you guys later. Sorry to interrupt your point, Barney. Thanks. See you guys later. Bye.
No, that's fine.
I've got to go and eat anyway. So. And I think didn't Sean give us a time limit anyway?
Yeah. Rumpus. Rumpus.
Hey, Barney.
Thank you for
Sorry?
the conversation. That
Well,
was
thank you,
was
well, thank you, Barney, as well, for giving me some. It was a useful engagement, and you. Well, I'm going to kick his butt apparently next time when I've got this. What was it about the body problem? So we've got a fight on the cards now.
It's okay. My butt is large enough. If you just swing your leg in a random direction, you'll kick it.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, you've just had it.
Yeah, we just had this. Yeah, it was a bit of a battle there. Oh my God! Bloody hell!
What do you want us? Pick the topic. What's the topic?
And it sounds as though Blue's going to be your what's the boxing chap in the corner who helps out the boxer. Sorry, no, the guy who has the cloth and things and cleans up the boxer in the corner.
I ain't doing that shit.
No. Blue's not
keen. I'm not doing that.
Okay, so what's it called? Your corner man. Is that corner man? That's it, or something? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, he's not going to do. Okay, well, so
right. I've been off watching American football. So
right.
My only question is, did you guys ever figure out which goddamn way gravity operates?
Yes, Barney claimed. Well, I thought Barney was claiming that. It turns out that Barney's claim there's no vector at all, and I'm sticking with mine down. In our 3D world.
Yeah, figure out which direction you got the axes turned in the first place, then decide whether you're talking about average acceleration or instantaneous acceleration. And
if you measure from a fixed point on the surface of the Earth, you are absolutely right. If you measure in Cartesian space and Newtonian physics, you're absolutely right. However, if you do the same thing inside a car, when you push the accelerator, the universe moves backwards.
Yeah, that happens.
Okay, anyway, I'll get fit for my future battles with Barney then. So, see you later. Right. Yeah. Multi-body problems, right? Yeah. Okay.
No, so this is kind of an awesome conversation for me because I'm getting challenged with more than just wordplay. Right? We genuinely have a different view of the same thing, which we have an understanding that we're both willing to present in full, like our internal understanding of the thing, and challenge them against each other. That's this is one of the greatest conversations I've had on these channels so far.
Well, I appreciate it from both of you. Yep. Let's get the final says. Since you guys talked the whole time, I'm gonna let everyone else say their buys first, and you guys can't leave until you're done. Until I say so. I don't know why that's kind of dick, but they and them. You haven't said anything. Let's go. Your turn.
It's been a great conversation, but I have to point out that this is censorship and moving us away from the great Canadian bacon conspiracy.
Oh my fucking God.
But we'll cover that the next time. Thank you very much,
we will
Sean.
Not. I'm sorry for cutting you off, but you said bad words. Big Blue.
Oh, I don't think I've got any thoughts, Sean.
Well, what game were you watching? Who won?
Huh?
What game were you watching?
Well, the first game I watched was the University of Tennessee game, and they managed to pull out a win. Now I'm watching University of Alabama, my alma mater, as they try to take care of Texas A&M. So we'll see how that goes.
Yes. I do appreciate you being
here. Yeah, thanks, guys.
On, back to go.
Sure. Yeah, it was a great conversation. I've learned quite a bit about, life, the universe, and everything. And I wanted to thank both Rumpus and Barney Their information was, well, beyond me. But I'm slowly learning. But thanks again, Sean.
Yep, no problem. Go ahead. Go ahead, Rumpus. I'm sorry. I'm looking at this screen.
Yeah, well, that was a very interesting conversation. Barney is just demonstrating his good knowledge of general relativity there. So that was fun and informative and educational and engaging to ideas and have to sort of correlate. It forces you to understand your own ideas as much as anything else when you're trying to engage with someone who's giving an opposite point of view. So in dialectic, so that's I think that's the phrase. Yes, so an interesting dialectic.
Awesome, thank you, sir. Barney, your turn.
Oh, I thought I already gave mine.
My bad.
Yeah, great conversation. I second everything that Trumpus just said. Yes, a huge part of this for me is kind of the Feynman learning method of trying to explain your understanding, and then when it fails, going back and relearning it to fill in the holes, and then trying to explain it again in simpler terms until changing the terms every time until you gain an intuition about what you're talking about, which coincides with the facts of the matter.
Well, thank you, sir. I hope you guys don't mind, but I would like to title this Rumpus versus Barney. It wasn't a battle.
Yeah.
But it'll make people think so. And again, you guys are going to have to debate or discuss. I don't care which one you do, but I get to pick the topic. And trust me, it's not going to be in your wheelhouse. Either one. Get ready. You know what I should do? I should tell you guys a topic. And it'd be so off the wall. Yeah, exactly. All right. I will. Okay, I got Rumpus on the. I got you in Skype. All right, cool. Expect the topic in the next 24 hours, gentlemen.
Okay.
Oh, you're gonna have to study up on it too.
Yeah, we'll have to. Yeah, well, if I want to beat Barney to a pulp, I'll have to definitely get into condition.
It's gonna be awesome. You guys are gonna have to debate marbles or some shit. It's gonna be awesome.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Well, Channel, like to go. You rushed in here at the very end.
Yes, I was just wondering if anyone was staying after to chat. Sean, are you leaving? Is that the deal?
Yeah, I got stuff. I gotta get ready, and then I gotta go to the football game.
Anybody else want to stay in and chat a little bit?
I've got to go, unfortunately.
No, I can stay for a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you. Again, Barney, Rumpus. I mean, thank everyone for being here, but Barney, Rumpus, that I actually took in a lot of in those holes that you were talking about, Barney. I got to fill a few of those, so thank you. I appreciate that to both of you. I actually special thanks to Rumpus, who actually at some point in the conversation actually slowed down, and I got a lot of good information from you too, Rumpus. So I appreciate that. So, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. I got stuff I gotta do, but like I said, I think that'd be fun, and both gentlemen seem down to do it. So, I'm gonna come up with some wonderful.
Okay, bye.
Sorry about that. Sorry
about did you get headband?
Okay, so one of the things that I actually really did enjoy about this stream and why I got quiet at the beginning of it is, again, I said it a minute ago, it's not very often that you get two Globers that will have a discussion and it lasts and be interesting in a sense. So the best thing I could say is to any flat earther I see out there, Ali, realize that the discussion they were having has been had so many times, looked into so many times, researched, experimented, that it's disingenuous to not know just as much, if not more, and then have something to bring to the table with an alternative. The alternative isn't the issue. I'm pretty sure all of us would love to find out that there was some alternative that we experienced in our lifetime. But know and that's not real, those aren't going to help. So I suggest, if you had very little knowledge of the force gravity, go back and listen to this again. I definitely will go. You can get some more notes in there, but it's just, it needs to happen more. The conversation doesn't need to be sides versus sides. It needs to be understanding versus understanding, and the one with the most understanding then gets to help the other person understand more as well. That's how any good discussion ends. So again, guys, I do appreciate it. I'm gonna get out of here. Yeah, that's it. I don't want to rant, so peace.
Sean, have a great day, okay?
You too, sir.
Thank you. Hey, just one little quick thing, and we need to chat sometime, okay?
Yeah, no problem.